Morning, 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 all. Morning, Roxanne. Sunday blessings to you as well, as usual. Thank you for my dreams. I was just wondering what YouTube will take your groups. Yeah. That's all right. We'll take as many as we can get, Roxanne. Thank you. Carol Boyce John, morning to you. Udani, morning. Altair, morning. Anna Sisneth, morning, Anna. Donna Wolcott, morning, Donna. J. Dimples, morning to you. Ruben Rogers, morning, sir. Dexter Tweets, morning. Angela Kati, morning. Angela Shah, morning to you. Terence Cummings, good morning, sir. Cyril Mayas, morning to you. Ruth Truth, morning, morning. Ruckman, morning, Ruckman. Marilyn McAllister, morning, Marilyn. Ria Ed, morning to you. Christopher Serrett, morning, sir. Rhonda Joseph, morning, Rhonda. Slick Money Grip. Bless morning to you as well. Doreen, Harry, and G. Sherry, Macaroni, Tony, morning to all of you guys. Hyacinth Richardson, morning to you. Neil Francois, always present, morning, sir. Marissa Guevara Diaz, morning, Marissa. Deborah Duranti, morning. Gillian Jackson, Brenda Isaac, Natalie F. Trevor Carter Nelson, morning to all of you as well. Kennedy Joseph, Julia Spooner, Hyacinth Richardson, Earl Chilpin, Jennifer Nicholas, morning, guys. Christopher Sylvester, morning. This is who I have on Facebook here. John Edwards, morning, sir. Morning, Diane. Good morning to His Excellency, the President of Pleasantville, Nigel O'Connor, First Lady Marissa Keegan, Annette Beard, morning, Annette. Jennifer Dorset, morning to you. Patricia Comina, morning. Kenneth Gabriel, Christopher. Is it Sifi? I think. Morning to you. Morning, Mava. Alison Boyce, morning. Arthur James, morning to you. Gemma, morning, Gemma. Judy Bowen, morning, Judy. Sarah Richards, Joycelyn Smallwhite, morning, Joycelyn. Rosemary Headley, morning to you, Rosemary, and Margaret. Carleen Mota Davis, morning to all of you guys. Patsy Nelson, Eileen Williams, Cheryl Bishop. All of you guys, morning. Right, so it is 11:12, and this the today. Let's see. Yeah. So out of it. 26th of May, 2024. So May is almost finished. I could have sworn I heard the weather forecaster said that we were supposed to have some rain this weekend from yesterday into Monday. But apparently the sun didn't get a memo. But there's heat different today, but Lord. For those of us in Trinidad, yeah. Morning, Patricia. Morning, Claire. Patricia says she's going over to YouTube so she could cook and listen on the TV. Judy, so much is happening. I can't keep up, you know, Judy. Honestly, I can't keep up. It's too much. I swear, I might have to do these lives every morning in order to be able to keep up with all the things happening. It's like as soon as one thing happens, something else and something else. And yeah. So, gosh, where to start today, buddy? Where to start? All right. Well, let me start with an article I came across yesterday. You're familiar with the saying, they could spoil hog food. Let me see if I get this here. So I saw an article yesterday morning. I think it's also in the newspapers today. Did I see that way? No, and it spoke to give me 1 sec, let me find it here. I know I saved this thing. So let me get it here. I also saw the link for it in today's newspaper. Let's see what date is this? Right. This one. There's so many things that I save to talk about, and half of them I don't even get to, unfortunately. Now, so earlier on is just as soon as um, you get into one thing, it's something else. Where is this? Where is this? Where is it? It's not looking for. Let's see, where is it? Right, this one. Government signs air services agreement with Qatar. 9 years after discussions began, the government and the state of Qatar have signed an air services agreement. But this should be good news for Professor Misinformation, because he always talking about Qatar as if, love to always showing videos, YouTube videos about Qatar and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see and to hear what he has to say tomorrow about this. Probably not going to say anything. Pretend as if he didn't see it. The agreement will allow the government to start discussions on code sharing and flight services to the country and open up travel and business in the Middle East. The air services agreement between Qatar and TNT is a fairly liberal agreement, facilitating up to 6 freedom traffic rights for passengers and cargo operations, with little restriction as to capacity, frequency, or traffic. Works Minister Rohan Sinanan told the Guardian yesterday. In addition, the agreement allows the designated airlines of the parties to exercise fifth freedom rights without directional or geographic limitation. This will increase the opportunities for increased connectivity between the parties, boost tourism and trade, enhance diplomatic relations and opportunities for cultural and educational exchange, and open the possibility for TNT to serve as a hub for travelers between the Middle East, Africa, and Asia, as Qatar Airways currently serves an estimated 170 destinations to points in the Caribbean. Discussions began in 2015 but became dormant between 2015 and 2019, and it resumed in 2019. Both countries began the process of review, and a final text was reached in 2023, with the Cabinet of TNT granting approval for signature in October 2023. Sinanan said the parties are negotiating via diplomatic channels, which may sometimes involve multiple stakeholders in either state, across different national legislative regimes, and sometimes with differing negotiating positions. The pace and continuity of negotiations may also be interrupted by administrative changes in either state, such as changes in governments or federal authorities. So I think the threat to that is greater on our side of the border with respect to a change in regime if the UNC gets into office, as opposed to the other way around. Because I saw and I recall Prime Minister returned from Ghana, India last week, where he spoke about it. And apparently the media missed that part, and the UNC, the Fully Duns clan, missed that part too, where he spoke about how we are to benefit from Ghana with respect to one of our local energy companies, state enterprises, that is supposed to begin offering services to the energy sector in Ghana, right? Now, this is something that has started under Patrick Manning. And then the PNM lost the election in 2010. The UNC came into office, People's Partnership. And that arrangement, which Mr. Manning and his administration would have put in a lot of work to negotiate, and it was close to fruition. My understanding was, based on what I would have read in my research over the last few days, was that when the Ghanaian officials came here to meet with the new government, to meet with the then Minister of Energy, in fact, a gentleman who was working at NGC at the time, and I just digress a little bit. Let me just get this here. The noise screen shut it. Right. You all may be familiar with the name Gregory Maguire, right? He's an energy sector expert, and he's been working in the energy sector for quite some time. And that arrangement between Ghana and Trinidad and Tobago should have been reaping results financially for the last almost 14 years. But it didn't pan out, because when the Ghanaian officials came here, they did not receive a warm reception. In fact, they were basically dismissed. The Minister of Energy then, based on what was reported, wasn't even willing to meet with them. And when this was posted by one of our followers, Deanne Joseph, Gregory Maguire commented on Facebook under the post, because it was a CNC3 post that was put out that spoke to this development now that is close to happening. This is what Mr. Maguire had to say. He said, I can testify that in early 2011, as Senior Manager, Office of Strategy Management at NGC, I made a presentation on the NGC Ghana strategy to the new UNC Minister of Energy. At the end of 45 minutes of fact-filled justification of the proposed Ghana investment strategy, we were told, and this is the minister speaking here, I am sure that we have better uses for that money right here in TNT. And so ended the Ghana dream. This is Gregory Maguire, just a couple of days ago, speaking about his personal experience working in NGC and seeking to bring this deal that Mr. Manning's administration, because remember that's what Mr. Manning was about, right? Trying to bring investments into Trinidad and Tobago, but also giving opportunities to local state enterprises to be able to offer services to foreign countries and to earn income that way, right? And Ghana at that time, the energy sector was not as flourishing as it is now. And so therefore, they were looking to Trinidad and Tobago for assistance, our expertise, given our long-standing in the energy sector, to help them to really set up their energy sector and to fashion it in such a way that it could make some money. So we should have been in there since 2011. But according to Gregory Maguire, after he making a 45-minute presentation to the then Minister of Energy, he says, I am sure that we have better uses for that money right here in TNT. Really? What did you invest in? What did you all invest in? I'm just asking the question. I'd love to know. And that was the end of that. So it took Dr. Rowley going back to Ghana now to bring this back to life. And now, again, at least this time, once it is that the Ghanaian officials, as Dr. Rowley would have indicated, hopefully should be coming to Trinidad and Tobago sometime in the next few weeks or months, that this arrangement could be sealed and settled, so that if the good citizens of Trinidad and Tobago decide in 2025, all they want to play fast and loose with all their votes and put the UNC back into office, so that we could have a repeat of 2011, where they figure that money could be better spent in Trinidad and tell Ghana how all their tail. We only want the yam. We don't want nothing else somewhere. We're still waiting for the yam. That's all these fully done talking about. We get the yam yet? We get the yam yet? Since when all so in love with yam? You don't have yam yet? But they want Ghanaian yam. I wonder why. Anyway. So hopefully this will be dealt with this year. So just in case now. Because you know, based on what we see, it has some people out there who aren't too sure. They're too sure. Don't know what they're unsure about, but anyway, we'll talk about that at another time. So I thought I would make mention of that. So here it is. Again, this administration is doing things, establishing relationships and linkages with other foreign entities to benefit Trinidad and Tobago. Well, you would think that such news is good news, eh? Yes, it is. Let me continue. Finally, prior to the signature, agreements are subject to the established approval processes mandated in each state, which may sometimes require amendment to domestic legislation. The Works and Transport Minister said it should never be forgotten that TNT is an island state, and the aviation and maritime sectors are the only ways to connect regionally and internationally. Traditionally, a lot of attention has been paid to connections with North America, Central America, and Europe. And it is critical that markets and population of TNT be provided with easy connections to all the continents of the world, and there are currently no Middle Eastern airlines operating non-stop or one-stop services to TNT. This agreement will provide the facilitating framework for the commencement of such services. It provides the basis for airlines from Qatar to speak with Caribbean Airlines on possible areas of cooperation. The agreement, he said, also provides an opportunity for the parties to pursue areas in key sectors such as aviation skills, capacity building, information and knowledge exchange. This has been initiated with the Honorable Minister of Works and Transport speaking to Qatar Airlines on the finalization of an agreement with the University of TNT for the training of students in aviation maintenance. Asked why it took so long to be resolved, he said it was not unusual for bilateral agreements to take a long time to be resolved. But at the end of the day, it's resolved. Right? So aside from the potential for flights from the Middle East to come directly to Trinidad and Tobago, and possibly for Caribbean Airlines to offer similar flights. So I guess they'll have to work out those logistics as well. The minister has also negotiated with, as it says, Qatar Airlines on finalization of an agreement with the University of Trinidad and Tobago, UTT, to train students in aviation maintenance. So again, we're not just focusing on the commercial side, we're looking at the education side and providing opportunities for young people. And I suppose such an arrangement would see students, UTT students who participate in this program probably getting the opportunity to go to Qatar as well, right? It's part of, good diplomatic relations. Let us not forget that when Mr. Manning wanted to establish the UTT, the same UTT that other party now loves to talk about, oh, they did this and they did that. They didn't want it. The current political leader was one of the loudest voices at the time who was challenging Mr. Manning at the PNM and said, we don't need another university to challenge the University of the West Indies. We already have a university here. Why you want to come now with a UTT? Come on and confuse people? And aside from University of the West Indies, we have also have a number of private tertiary education institutions available. So what's the point of wasting taxpayers' money to come and set up this UTT? Right? But that was all they could talk about when they come into office under Fazal Karim and what they do and UTT offering this and UTT that. And if you hear them now, oh, Rowley closed down this program and they closed down that program in UTT. But you all did not want it in the early days, you didn't want it. But all of a sudden now they're loving it up, just like with CPEP. All they didn't want that neither. It was a loveless thing. It is the intergenerational transfer of poverty. All of that, you all had nothing good to say about it. And then as soon as you come into office, it's the greatest thing ever. And you want to look to expand it and all of these things. Pick a struggle. So I was saying, you would think that an announcement such as that is good news. That this is one thing that the fully done could embrace. Well, why? They never cease to amaze. Never cease to amaze. When you're reading the comments under this thing, there's all kind of negatives. What we were that for? That ain't making no sense. Nobody don't want to come to Trinidad. They could come here to get killed and all of that. You didn't see all the travel advisories that going out from the US and this one and that one, telling people, look, whether to come here, where they come here for, we have nothing to offer, all of that. And but the transportation service in Trinidad is no good. PTSD services are a waste of time, but we're looking to establish air links with Qatar, but we can't even fix the road network here, and you can't drive down to Port of Spain with proper roads and all kind of things. It's like these people that sit down, they read good news and say, right, let me see what negativity I could come up with. They probably have a workshop training them how to pull the negative out of anything positive and focus on that. So anything good, because they need to continue this narrative that nothing good happening to Trinidad and Tobago. Rowley mash up the country. Rowley mash up the economy. Rowley went abroad and spent taxpayers' money, and what we get for it, it had nothing to show. But when it is, what there is, the benefits that would derive from the trip start to show now, they vex. Because, oh gosh, well, we can't push that narrative no more. We can't say we got nothing from the trip to Saudi Arabia, to the United Arab Emirates last year, because look, we get this. We can't say that he spent taxpayers' money and he went Ghana and we didn't get nothing because look, we get this deal. We can't say that he went to India and we didn't get nothing because look, we get this. So even when we get, they try to knock it too. Because we need to continue this narrative that nothing of substance came out of that trip. And they will continue along that line, so push that brutish narrative. Even though they know that it's not true. How does it help you? All it does is turn off the people who know the truth and realize you all are just fully dunce. But even now, I think fully dunce might be too soft a term to describe some of that. Let me read something else here as on that point before I move on to the other things, right? Let me get it here. So, this one. We recall that the now leader of the opposition, then Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, also went to India back in 2012. And I came across this article in the Guyana News, dated January 14, 2012, Indian company set to invest 1 billion TT in Trinidad and Tobago. Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesa said yesterday, India's largest private company, Reliance Industries Limited, yes, the same Reliance that wants to build the cricket academy, same Reliance, right? Plans to invest $1 billion in Trinidad and Tobago. Same Reliance, same Ambani. The company is looking at setting up an ammonia plant in Trinidad. So Ambani wants to come and set up an ammonia plant in Trinidad. That is 2012, right? I didn't hear at that time the supporters of that party say, but we already have an ammonia plant. In fact, we have several ammonia plants. Why we need another one? You all heard that? I didn't hear that. Maybe they said I didn't. I don't recall hearing that, right? But what we need another cricket academy for, and we have one? Well, then why did we need another ammonia plant and we had so many? I continue. At an online conference hosted by telecom provider TSTT at the company's Edward Street, Port of Spain offices, Prasad Bisesa, speaking from Mumbai, said, the theme of the visit is partnering for diversification, innovation, and investment. And that's exactly what we achieved from this trip. The trip was aimed at the achievement of future progress and establishing and strengthening bilateral relations which have resulted in success. India has shown a strong desire to partner with us in various areas of interest. The ministerial delegations of both India and Trinidad and Tobago have signed an MOU in sectors such as ICT, medical and health care, tourism, fashion, film, and animation. In the field of natural resources, the Gas Authority of India and the Oil Natural Gas Commission signed a MOU with the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago. As a result, Trinidad and Tobago will help India in this sector with technical expertise. So we didn't want to help Ghana with technical expertise, but we were ready, willing, and able to help India. So when the Ghanaian officials came here, we couldn't even get them a meeting with the minister because the minister said, I'm money to spend, forget it. You're not interested. The Ghanaian authorities officials went back home, empty-handed, no conversation whatsoever, as the case may be, right? And that slight resulted in this deal taking all these years to come to fruition. But anyway, University of the West Indies signed an agreement with Indira Gandhi National Open University to introduce distant learning courses to Trinidad and Tobago. The Sri Ram Institute will also be providing UE assistance in the field of research testing, Prasad Bisesa said. In addition to this, a technical cooperation agreement was signed which will enable experts from India to come and provide services to Trinidad and Tobago. The National Steel Orchestra will visit India, and a team of musicians from India will teach the sitar, the dholak, the dantal, and the tabla to local music students. Airlink agreements have been signed between Air India and Caribbean Airlines. Prasad Bisesa said new flights will be beneficial to India as Trinidad and Tobago is a gateway to the Americas. Where can I get a direct flight from Piaco to India? Those exist? This was since 2012, 12 years ago. All them things she said we were supposed to get, all of that we supposed to get. At least now we see agreement signed between Trinidad and Tobago and Qatar. All right. She said these new airlinks will start by the end of the year, but we are hoping they will come into effect as soon as possible. That was 2012. We're in 2024. These new airlinks will start by the end of the year. Has there ever been a direct flight from Trinidad and Tobago to India? Are there direct flights of India to Trinidad and Tobago? This was 2012. They were in office 2013, 2014, 2015. Not a single direct flight. But she told us in 2012. This is January of 2012, right? So the whole of 2012, the whole of 2013, the whole of 2014, and 3/4 of 2015. But these new airlines were supposed to start at the end of 2012. The Indian government and the Trinidad and Tobago government have decided to collaborate in a comprehensive anti-terrorism effort to obtain rural peace and security. Asked about the number of people on the mission to India, she said, my delegation consists of my ministers and their support staff. I am not in a position to say how many delegates accompanied me exactly, but the expenditure for me and my delegates was paid for completely by the Indian government, and I'm very thankful for that. That's what she told us then, right? And then afterwards, when a question was posed by the then opposition PNM, we learned that the trip cost somewhere in the vicinity of 15 million TT dollars. Apart from my delegation, there are other people who have accompanied me on this trip and they have come here at their own cost. Really? And you still spend 15 million? The Indian government decided to pay for the Caribbean Airlines jet, jumbo jet that you use to go to India and carry the marriage and the parish. About 150 people from Trinidad and Tobago are on the trip to India. How many persons went with Dr. Rowley to India? Did he go on a jumbo jet for himself and the marriage and the parish? Prasad Bisesa said the mission was not about her finding roots, but rather a sense of realization about where she's from. Finding one's roots is a fairly modern concept. If I had to do so, I would come here personally by myself like I have done in the past. Okay. All them things she said we were supposed to get. We get anything? We got anything? No. We know for sure she went and looked for roots. She found roots. But otherwise, we're still waiting on the direct flights from Trinidad and Tobago to India. But they will come in the same Reliance group. What happened to that? You see Mr. Ambani, who they want to reject now, who was coming here to build an ammonia plant when we had so many other ammonia plants here already. Right? So we would have had to provide him with natural gas and all of that too, right? Yeah. I just asking the question, where are supporters? Where are they? We don't need another cricket academy. We have one other, according to Olia, which is not a cricket academy. But we welcomed an ammonia plant when we had about how many others? Okay. That's logic. Well, they're making plenty sense. On to another point. So I just wanted to point that out. It doesn't matter what this government does, any good news we get, they will always find a way to pour cold water on it because they want nothing good for this country if it comes from the People's National Movement. They don't want any good news, nothing positive coming from this government between now and the next general election, 2025, that they feel could give the PNM an edge, that they feel could boost confidence, public confidence in the government, you know? Right, instead of only the negatives, but anyway. So, the candidates for the upcoming by-elections for the two seats, the Lengua Indian Walk seat and I remember the other seat, forgive me, have been announced. They have filed nomination papers officially, and so they are the official candidates. And we see, now I want to say, I think the party needs to find a way to provide support for these two candidates outside of the district. So they shouldn't be left to simply rely on PNM persons who live in and around the districts to go and work with them and so on. I think in the same way that Minister Young would have made himself available to several candidates in the last local election, working with them and so on, we need to see similar action being taken, not just by Mr. Young, but by other government ministers as well. Because the benefit to that is that it would give the voters in these two districts an opportunity to speak directly to the ministers. And that, to my mind, could help to boost the votes for the PNM candidates. Because even though in your walkabout, you will of course encounter UNC supporters and so on, but you have a lot of disgruntled UNC supporters right now. As we would have seen from the crowd that tuned up yesterday to the launch of the United Patriots campaign led by Rushton Parry. We'll touch on that just now. But I think there are certain key and influential government ministers who should be working with these candidates. Don't need to be for the entire campaign, but even if you give them a week. The Minister of Energy, Stuart Young, of course, as chairman of the party. I think Foster Cummings should be on that team. Marvin Gonzalez should also be on that team, as well as perhaps the Minister of Education, because the people have questions. And look for the ministers who can have answers to those questions, right? So those certain ministries, identify those ministries that impact the most on people's daily lives, persons who may be having challenges and want an opportunity to speak to the heads of these ministries. I think that could go a long way. And also to incorporate people like myself and Jenny and so on, because some of these people listen to us on our various platforms. They've never had the opportunity to meet us, and we could go out there and try and stir up things. Not saying that we special, but I mean we could do something too. Incorporate, even though Juliet is no longer on the radio for now. We could bring Juliet into the fray too, and others, and see the people who listen, see if we could get John and John. We're going out there to as a show of support, to meet with the people and to encourage them. Hear what those of you who telling yourself, nah, this is just a by-election, they're not important, the outcome don't make a difference. We can talk to them and show them how it makes a difference. Right? So I'm just making a suggestion. We may not be able to win the, well, let me not say that. Let me not say that. We have the potential to win both seats. Okay? Sure, but there are people, they just need to talk to the people, and we can see what the outcome is. So I just throw in that. Yeah, somebody mentioned Paula, Diana saying Paula Gopi School is very much involved. Yes, she is in Moruga. I saw that, I saw pictures of that. Yeah, so she has been very instrumental, and I think she too should be a part of that team. Right? So she could organize for down, you see, down outside Moruga and stuff. And yes, so I am just saying, let us give them that support. And I'm hoping that to hear perhaps the chairman of the party announce or put out an invitation that he will be joining the campaign, and persons who are desirous of doing so. The meeting point is on this day at such and such time. We meet in here. Well, they come down and let us lend support. I will make the time to go with these guys. We have 2 holidays this week, Thursday and Friday. We have a long weekend. So make it happen. I'm sure these guys will be out there working every day. And I am willing, and I'm certain Jenny would be too. And I know there are lots of you guys who listen here who will be more than willing if they organize a maxi or two and they say, we meet in this point, we're picking up people at Grand Bazaar, whatever. So you all meet there, we jump on the maxi and we head down the road and we go and we give them the support. Let us not limit it to people from down on that side. But I will look out to see, and if wherever possible, I have no problem heading down the road and working with these guys. Yeah, so kudos to what Paula Gopiskun is doing, and I hope that those other ministers who I mentioned, that they would make themselves available, even if it's for 2-3 days to go and walk and meet with the people, discuss not just about the campaign, but enlighten them, let them know what it is happening in your ministry, the things, especially Marvin Gonzalez, people who might be having issues with water, and would appreciate to hear him say what they can expect in the areas with respect to that and other public utilities. Right? So I just thought I'd put that on. But I raised the issue because I saw a UNC supporter has come across to assist or to the PNM candidate. And he had a pretty decent entourage, you know. As opposed to the UNC, I noticed that they, anyway, we'll talk about that another time. Let me get this. And I was surprised when I saw this lady. Let me get this. You all may be familiar with her. They said she was they call her Kamala's sister. She and Kamala so close. But she said, you know, the guy called her and they're good friends and he wanted to come in. She had no problem putting on red and going out there to assist her friend. And so she will be campaigning, trying to convince UNC supporters, the disgruntled ones in particular. So let's take off the political glasses for a moment, right? Understand and see how you could benefit. So it's not just about you going and vote simply for the sake of, because of UNC. So let me remind you all who this individual is. Let me put on this thing. That's nice. Now I see some people who support the PNM complaining that they say the PNM is always pick up UNC rags. Listen, by any means necessary, whatever help we could get. It's not like they given her a position, she going up. You know, she want to assist. Well, then okay. We welcome all. Come and assist. If you could convince 5 people or 6 people who would not normally vote for the PNM to come on board and vote for these candidates. I mean, we know in at least one of the districts, the Lengua Indian Walk, the seat was lost by 1 vote. So if this individual could assist, well, I don't know, I don't, forgive me, I don't think it's that particular seat, but any votes that she could bring, we appreciate. Based on her influence, we appreciate any votes that you could bring. But let me remind you all who she is. I'm going to play this for you. And I don't mean to be facetious, but forgive me. When I heard that voice, I was like, nah. Now this lady, just not so long ago, just about a year and a half ago, I was still on radio at the time. I remember playing this. She was the MC for one of their Monday Night Forum meetings. And I remember this in particular.
Tonight, I want to introduce to this vibrant podium a good-looking, handsome red man. Yes, he is a man, and they call him the warrior of the UNC. And when you are called a warrior, you worries everything. I can imagine how many things this young man have worried in his life. You hear me? I know the worries though, right? Tonight, I want to introduce to the podium a well-known businessman, a long-serving United National Congress warrior. And when I look at him in the Senate, I see licks like fire, licks like bees. The man is beating up himself and he's worrying the Senate. That is the man. Yes, and I'm pleased, and I'm proud, and I'm delighted tonight, my brothers and sisters, to bring to this podium a vibrant, young, again, handsome, none other than Senator Damian Lydon. Let's give it up to him.
Yeah, warrior, it is worries people. There'll certainly be no shortage of comic relief on that campaign. But anyway, we welcome all assistants, folks. Right? I just thought I'd play that. But who knows? She probably have skills to convince people, right? But kudos to her for lending her assistance. I hope that she's genuine and it is not in an attempt to find out what the strategies are for the PNM candidate to undermine. But I didn't get that from her. But then again, you never know. Eh? You never know. So if she's genuine, well then, okay, great. But as I saw somebody post there, we welcome these assistants, but beware of wolves in sheep clothing. A word to the wise is sufficient. Yes. Word to the wise is sufficient. All right? If Judy says this sweet too bad. Yes, Judy, real salvation. Today is a crave your indulgence moment. And you know when I ask you to crave your indulgence, who are going to play? And I'm going to play him here. Give me 1 minute. I need to play somebody.
Sorry, we're with.
Before I play him. So yesterday was the launch of the United Patriots. That is the team led by Rushton Parry. So they had their presentation yesterday of their candidates for their upcoming internal election. I listened to Mr. Parry. I mean, his speech was a bit lackluster, but all right. But what was noteworthy was the size of the crowd that turned out for that little meeting. But it wasn't a little meeting. And when you have people like the likes of Larry Lala, who I understand is contesting for the position of chairman, you have people like Kyle Taklalse and Anita Haynes and all these guys. Persons who are able to pull some level of crowd, UNC crowd, especially the disgruntled members. So I am certain this morning that you have a lot of people who supporting the star team, which is the slate that is supported by Kamla Prasad Sessa, must not be too pleased with the numbers that they saw yesterday. So of course we're going to hear the attacks this week. We'll hear about the Parry probably pay people to come because he have money, that they probably bus in people or bring people by maxis to come to make it look like. But at the end of the day, the man had a crowd. Whatever it is, the man had a crowd. And now the star team is challenged to ensure that they have a similar size or greater size crowd when they launch. So they'll probably call on the Monday Night Forum posse. You know, the people, the 300 people that Rodney Charles told us they bus into every meeting. He said that when he had his press conference. You can't be busing in the same 300 people every time to a meeting to give the impression that you have support and you have a crowd. That will win the election. So they'll probably be calling out those folks. You all need to come out to make Parry look bad. Okay? But the story yesterday was Mrs. Prasad Bissasa's response to Rushton Parry, his invitation to her to attend his slate's launch. And Mrs. Prasad Bissessa responded with a 7-page letter that found its way into the public domain and was featured on CNC3 last night. She didn't mince words. She minced no words. I'll just read a little bit of it from you. Mr. Rushton Parry, this letter is dated Saturday, the 25th of May, 2025. Okay, 2025. Somebody needs to let Mrs. Prasad Bissessa know in 2024. We know you're anxious for 2025 because you think that you're going to win the election, you'll be prime minister again. But we're still in 2024, right? So you're about a year early, a year too early. I refer to your email correspondence dated Friday, May 24th, 2024, which I received at 10:33 p.m., inviting me to attend your campaign launch on Saturday, May 25th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Notably, this invite has been issued at a totally short notice, less than 24 hours before the event, and I find this a curious deviation from general etiquette. I respond as follows. With reference to your first point, well, boy, she was just listing points. She was waiting for that invitation. And she was able to put all of this together within the space of a few hours. Now we know Mrs. Prasad Bissessa might have had minimal input into this response because at 10:33 p.m. in the night, unless they have a Monday night for a meeting, Mrs. Prasad Bissessa probably would not be in any state to write something of this caliber. All right, especially if she got home early. We know by 10:30 it's time for her to, if she's still awake, if she's still conscious, if she's still lucid. She couldn't write this. She got it for, hey, deal with that. I said I'm not going to read the whole thing for you, but anyway. With reference to your first point where you state, I wish to express my gratitude for your decision to call our party's internal elections. I remind you of my ongoing, widely published, consistent comments regarding my track record and stated intention of calling the UNC's internal elections when they are constitutionally due. Noticeably, since I assumed leadership of the party on May 24, 2010, internal elections under my watch were held, and she gives the dates. Therefore, there is no need for anyone to thank me for doing my duty as political leader and adhering to the UNC's constitution, especially since my track record of same speaks volumes for itself. She then goes on to say, I reiterate that it is highly dishonest for anyone, be they a member of parliament or an ordinary person. So apparently members of parliament are not ordinary people. Okay. To attempt to mislead and or outrightly deceive our party's membership into believing that the leadership has sought to disenfranchise said membership by not adhering to the UNC constitution, recalling of internal elections when they are due. One can only surmise that anyone engaging in such questionable conduct is in fact governed by purely sinister motives, a desire to create mischief, self-serving personal ambitions, or both. With reference to your second point where you state, as my political leader, should my team be successful, I commit to working closely with you to strengthen our party. I am indeed surprised that you now profess a desire to work with me, given that I am fully cognizant of the public utterances to the contrary made by yourself and your team members. I cite just some references. And she posted links to a whole variety of articles. Rambali must go. Shogunas West MP Dinesh Rambali slams leadership at the UNC. Rambali has no confidence in Kamla. Rambali slams Kamla's leadership. Then she goes on again, another page. Rodney Child's press conference. Child's new generation of leaders needed. MP Parry responding to false accusations made by Prasad Bissessa. Madam Leader, MPs are humans too. Charles to Kamla Prasad Bissessa, plain talk, bad man. She gave a whole list. If you see links, about 3 pages of links. She was waiting for that. Furthermore, I note the conspicuous absence of you and your cohorts at the parliamentary sitting on April 26, 2024, where you consequently failed to support the UNC parliamentary team in defeating the PNM government in a historic vote. Read the motion to extend the time of the Auditor General's 2023 report. With reference to your third point where you state my slate aptly named United Patriots, I note that I view all members of the great UNC party as patriots. I find it passing strange that you have opted to call your team United Patriots, given that there is another fledgling political party named the Patriotic Front, and given the PNM's widespread ongoing accusations that the UNC and its members have never been patriots of Trinidad and Tobago. Such curious linkages do not appear to be circumstantial, and therefore one can justify and reasonably conclude that such a name for your slate in fact purports to endorse a false, malicious, damaging PNM narrative against the great, faithful, and loyal members of the UNC. Again, I seek clarification of same to afford me better guidance in my due consideration of your invitation. Well, if Rushton didn't realize by that page that she ain't accepting that invitation, something wrong with him. With reference to your fourth point, where you state, it is my pleasure to invite you to attend this event as a valued member of our party, I remind you of the fact that beyond being a valued member of the party, I am the duly elected political leader of the UNC. In other words, you're damn fast and out of place. A post that I have held and consecutively retained for the past 14 years via endorsement of the vast majority of our party's membership. I also remind you, as such extensive background information may not be the purview of most newcomers to our party, that in terms of one's presumed value as a party member, I have given the UNC over 3 decades of committed, devoted, ongoing, active membership activism, service that remains to date unparalleled. She waxing poetic. And then she goes on to talk about all the things that she did for the party. Let me see. So, with reference to your 6th point where you state, I firmly believe that a stronger UNC leads to a stronger Trinidad and Tobago. I do believe that the UNC is strongest than it has ever been. Okay, another typo. She probably wrote that part, anyway. And I do believe that the UNC will therefore win the next general election despite attempts by others with highly questionable, sinister agendas to achieve the opposite. Indeed, the facts show that since 2020, under my leadership, the UNC has become the most popular party in Trinidad and Tobago in terms of votes. 309,180 for the UNC versus 305,850 for the PM. Now, you see those figures there is what leads me to believe that she might have written that, right? Because at 10:30 in the night, they're writing clearly inebriation. Somebody needs to show Mrs. Prasad how to do research. She could just go on the EDC website and see that in 2020, the PNM got 322,180 votes to the UNC's 309. Last I checked, 322 is more than 309. So I don't know where she get this 305,850 from, but remember in the early stages, they were claiming we win the popular vote. Yeah, we lost the election, but we win the popular vote. No, madam. You lost the election and the popular vote. The PNM got 322,000 votes in 2020. It's on the EBC website. You could go and check it. But then you might say that the EBC changed the figures because they read your letter and decided to change the figures. Yeah? Even though you could see it on correspondence and releases that is 4 years old, 3 years old, 2 years old. Yeah, the EBC went and they looked for everything where the figures quoted and they changed that. Because on all your less is more. So you're claiming you all won the popular vote and the PNM get 3. No, madam, it's 322,180, and even the UNC figures are wrong too. Even the figure she quote for them is wrong. But you so want to claim you win popular vote. The same thing I was telling them, December 2nd, 2019, local government election. They beat in the chest, we win the popular vote, The PNM get 161,000 votes and we get 202,000. And just 8 months later, the PNM came and doubled up. They went from 161 to 322. 100% increase. You went from 202 to 309. Madam. Well, they got 107,000 more votes. The PNM got 161,000 more votes. Right? So relax yourself. Next time, try and write your letters when you're sober. Because right now you're looking good. Okay? There are those of us who do research and we understand. It's a shame the media didn't pick up that to correct you. But anyway, I will correct you. She goes on to say, let me see. There was something right. Notably, in 2020, the UNC got the most votes it ever got in its history and regained its majority in Trinidad. In 2000, the UNC got 307,791 votes, which was 51.7% of all votes cast at the time. In the 2020 battle, the UNC not only retained all seats it held prior to the election, but also won an additional seat previously held by the PN. As you claim to fail, but you're still in opposition. The progress continued in 2023 local elections with many PNM electoral districts, even the strongholds like Arima now becoming marginal. Now becoming marginal. But you went from holding a seat in Arima to having 0 seats in Arima, but you're talking about Arima is marginal. So you forget they went into the local election last year with 1 seat. You come out with 0, nil, zooks, but you're talking about Arima is marginal. Well, continue to feed that to the sheeple. I continue. In local government elections, the PNM lost almost 44,000 votes from 2016 to 2023. The UNC gained a majority of seats in 2023 and triumphed in the popular vote. There's only a slim majority in parliament of just 22 seats to 19 seats. And there are times when the UNC has a majority in parliament when PNM members are absent playing golf in Barbados, sick or just lazy and do not show up. Says the woman who probably has the most abysmal attendance record as a parliamentarian for the last how many years? And so probably for the history of our parliament. Because as prime minister, you weren't going to the parliament. As leader of the opposition, in fact, Rodney Charles had to call you out on that when you were upset with him and the other 4 for not showing up on the 26th of April. He went and dig up in Hansard and dig up the parliamentary records to remind you of how many sittings he attended, how many he missed, as opposed to you. But you want to talk nonsense here about there are times when UNC has a majority in parliament when PNM members are absent. Madam, check yourself. Check yourself. Anyway. UNC's tremendous work in parliament on the ground and on traditional social media have the PNM on the back foot. There was something I wanted to read out. Right. I have also been right away. I also reminded you of the fact that in at least 2 occasions. Right. This is what I wanted to read. With reference to your 5th point, where you state, during the event, we will present our plans and proposals for the future. Here what she tells Parry. I note that despite having been a UNC MP for the last 9 years, you have consistently failed to offer anything constructive to the development of the UNC throughout your tenure. So from 2015 to 2020, he offered nothing of substance, but you put him back in 2020. That making sense, right? So she just tell him for the 9 years he was there, you do nothing. You offered nothing constructive, nothing of value, nothing of substance to the party during your entire tenure, the full 9 years. But despite the fact that you were a failure from 2015 to 2020, we still decided to put you back in 2020 to serve until 2020. I want to ask her, aside from yourself, the other 17 who in the lower house, what have they contributed to the UNC during the tenure from 2015 to now? What has Khadija Amin brought to the party? What has the human trafficker brought to the party other than shame and disgrace? What has Arnold Ram brought to your party or given to your party other than shame and disgrace? What has David Lee done? What contribution has he made other than to bring shame and disgrace to the party by being charged for fraud and misbehavior in public office and is currently on $1 million bail? What has he brought? What did he offer the party since he's been there? Nobody rested it. What have they brought to the party? Well, you single out Russia. You can't even unite the members of your own party, but you want to unite with other small parties. That making sense? Charity begins at home to go abroad. You're telling all the other parties, let us come together and unite to remove this wicked and evil PNM. But members of your own party telling you, come, let us join, let us come together, let us sort out our sort out and go in as a united front. And you don't want nothing to do with it. You basically, they are outcasts. You can't fix what's in your own house, but you want to go and join with other houses. See something wrong with them? And I see Gary decided to jump on the bandwagon early, put out a long missive about How many pages? Let's say you mark paragraphs. You check you get 1 share and 4 likes. After you put in all that effort to write this long thing, 1 share and 4 likes, talking about, well, you know, basically you're trying to tell them here, don't make it too nasty now. Because if this is a nasty campaign, whoever win on the 15th of June, it wouldn't make a difference because the damage will already be done. People will see you as being a dysfunctional party, right? All kind of information is going to come out because I read for you all the other day where Rodney Charles basically said, here, what? Don't mash my call. I have secrets that can make the party look bad, right? So if all you keep quiet, I will keep quiet. But if all you step out of line and continue to call me all kind of thing, PNM and Makaram, I am going to bust the fights, right? So let me don't go down that road. That's Rodney Charles saying that. Rodney Charles saying that. But put them back in office. There he is telling you he has secrets that would make the party look bad. So it's better to keep it hush-hush. But the supporters are telling you vote for them. What are these secrets? Cambridge Analytica included in that, Rodney? You care to speak on that or no? No. Craving indulgent moment number 1. I want to play a little bit of fun for you. Listen to the listen to the transformational leader, according to Professor Falls Street. I'm gonna play this, right? I'll do that too.
I'm seeing Miss Williams' hand.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chief Secretary.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chief Secretary. I know that last evening during the conversations with the Prime Minister, the Finance Minister, Colin Imbert, would have highlighted and stated that in terms of the Assembly's allocation, that this present Assembly has been getting more monies than the previous PNM. He stated that this present Assembly is getting more monies than the previous PNM. What's your view on that in terms of Tobago's allocation? Because I know you had previously aired some concerns in terms of getting Tobago's allocation on time. He also recalled a meeting that you both had along with a delegation back in 2021 on the December 23rd.
I thank you very much for that question. Yes, that meeting on December the 23rd, 2021, and I think I spoke about that meeting previously. The first government official I met with as Chief Secretary post my inauguration was in fact with Minister Imbert. But you know, when I was a student at Bishop's High School, I had an English teacher. She's still alive. I think she was a recipient of Teacher Awards for Tobago Day last year. Miss Agnes Thomas, beautiful lady. She had a concept she would usually use in the classroom. And she would say, that's bull rush. And I guess that might be the polite way of saying it's another type of bull. But it's really a hogwash sort of political argument, Minister Imbert. And I see some of the enslaved sycophants in Tobago parroting the same nonsense. The Tobago House of Assembly, over several years, not just now, but over several years, continue to receive on average $4.30 out of every $100 spent in the country across the board. That has not changed. And every Tobago House of Assembly, mine, the one House of Assembly, mine, the one that was led before me, they have all asked for closer to the upper margins of the DRC recommendation and has always been given $4.30 out of every $100. Now, let's look at it. So you see how they're trying to play smart with stupidness. And I believe Mr. London was the one who coined that. I myself quoting him a lot these days. If the national budget is $50 billion this year, then $4.30 on the $100 will look less than if the budget is $60 billion the following year. So it's just a statistical reality. But the actual fact remains that Tobago continues to receive a very low support of $4.30 out of every $100 spent in the country. Imagine for a moment you have 2 children, and for your 2 children, every single day you will give $100 as part of the family budget for the 2 children to go to school. And you will give one child $4.30, and you give the other child the remainder of the $100. How is that equity and justice? Come on, let's.
How is that equity and justice? So let me just touch on the example he did. I could say I could spend a whole hour on this 7 minutes that he spoke. So you have 2 children, one going to primary school and one going to university in the University of the West Indies. But you're given the primary school, but it makes sense to hear, we must give the child who going to primary school the same amount of money as the child who going to the university. That making sense to him, right? That making sense to him. That is his logic. That is not equity. So we're not looking at what level each child is at. We all know you have 2 children and you must get them equal. So one child get $50 and the next child get $50. The child who go into primary school needs $50, Pali, as opposed to, because you're dropping that child to school, but the child who go in university, he or she has to travel, right? You say, well, they're old enough so you can travel. And yeah, it doesn't make no sense. We use one car and the rest of us going for the Spain, you going to St. Augustine. So it don't make sense for us to have to drop you. You could travel. So you need money for that. And of course, to buy lunch because, the little incidentals and them little things and stuff. Understand? But his logic, forget where each child is at. You have 2 children, give each of them same amount. That's equity and justice. That is the transformational leader for Tobago. I continue.
How is that equity and justice? Come on, let's make sense out of this. Further, I want to also remind Mr. Imbert that at that meeting in December 2021 and following meetings and the letters, I wrote about the near $167 million or more that is owing to the Tobago House of Assembly. Because what they do is that they make a budget and they say, look, we will give Tobago X, and by the end of the fiscal year, Tobago gets far less than what was promised or what was appropriated or passed by the parliament. And right now they have money for us, they have that pay for us. $167 million on average, owed, not paid from what was actually passed in the budget. And let me go further. Let me remind Mr. Imbert that in that December 2021 meeting, I spoke about the fact that the law says that we must receive our payments in quarterly blocks in advance, meaning for the fiscal year, a quarter is every 3 months, and we should have 4 quarters. And at the beginning of every quarter, we should have in equal parts our subvention. That is still not happening.
Let me address that one time as I am there. All right? Fali, as the Secretary for Finance, ought to understand how the budgeting process works. So you have projected revenues, and then you have estimates of expenditure. Your expenditure ability is dependent on your revenues. So if you project to get X amount of revenues and you do not get that amount of revenue, then you cannot spend what you may get, Fali. Does Fali understand where the government gets its revenue from every quarter? So if one quarter ain't all that great, right? And the government, remember you dealing with a population of about 65,000, as opposed to Tobago, as opposed to Trinidad with a population of about 1.4 something million people, right? But you want equity. So you find 4.3% of the budget is not enough. I don't know how much you want, 15 or 20 for 65,000 people, right? But that making sense to you. So you're saying you're supposed to get your money in advance in quarterly blocks. Okay. But the government has to get the money to be able to pay you that. And when it is that we have entities owing the state millions of dollars in taxes, over a period of years and paying. And it's not just them alone. There are others too who are supposed to pay their taxes. Either they're not paying it on time or they're not paying it at all. It impacts. So when the government expects, well, based on a projected oil price and a projected gas price of this, we expect to get this amount of money this quarter, and this is how it will be split up. If we don't realize that amount of revenue, Farley, how you expect them to give it to you in quarterly blocks, Farley? How? You expect the minister to do that if you don't have the money? He can't just walk downstairs and he have a magic wand and he walk inside a vault that some people figure that the treasury is this actual vault with money in it. And he wave a magic wand and money appear and he say, I give Farley that. It doesn't work so far. The minister has to operate based on how much money comes in, when the money comes in, and then when that money comes in, and depending on how much, then he could determine how much he could give you, whether he could give you for 1 month, or if he could give you if he have enough to give you for the quarter. But he cannot give you priority to say, well, I'm supposed to give Farley X amount for the quarter. And if I give Farley X amount for the quarter, it means in Trinidad, I can't pay this and I can't pay that because the amount I was expecting to get this quarter I didn't get. But Farley want to tell me, regardless of how much I get, make sure he get all of his and make do with what little is left over. Make do in Trinidad that have 1.4 million people to take care of. He couldn't care less. He responsible for the 65,000 in Tobago. Just give me my money 1 quarter in advance so I could do what I want with it. And you fight up in Trinidad however you could with whatever is left over. But just I don't want to hear that you are making it. This is the transformational leader in Tobago, the current Secretary for Finance. So that's supposed to change sometime next month. So easy. We will hear sometime. Right? That is his logic. That's his logic. So hell with Trinidad. But just last year, when he was at, I think it was early last year or so, he was interviewed on Tobago Updates or Channel 5 or whatever. And he was talking about the crime situation. He made the point that, I can't remember what it is that happened, and some comment Dr. Rowley had made, and he said Dr. Rowley is trying to create distractions for the fact that he is unable to deal with the crime situation in Trinidad. The crime situation that is out of hand in Trinidad, and he can't deal with it. He don't know how to handle it, so he's looking for distractions. Now, he crying crocodile tears because he can't handle the crime situation in Tobago. So all kind of distractions. So are you looking for distractions, Farley? From the fact that you cannot handle the crime situation, for the fact that the highest murder rates ever recorded in Tobago wasn't recorded under a PNM administration. The records for the most amount of murders taking place in Tobago happened under the TPP, Independence, PDP, because you all were different things in the last 2.5 years, the amount of times that administration changed name. So now you all are TPP. But that is on you. The murder rate, and based on where we are in May, and I think you all are 10 or 11 murders already, you're on track for another record this year. So it is the TPP that will record the highest murder rates ever for consecutive years in Tobago. We didn't have that under Anson. We didn't have that under Orville and Kelvin, that under you. But the UNC and that other party will talk about that. Oh, under the PNM is the highest murder rates and this and that. Crime is always the worst under the PNM. You hear them saying anything about Tobago? Under he, that happened. So now he wants his own police force, supplementary police force or whatever. So what the TTPS can do, this supplementary police force is supposed to be able to do under the direction of the THA and the Chief Secretary. So he could tell them how to operate. Talking about they could do it based on what the law says about security firms. So basically, the THA wants to establish a security firm that will take orders from the Chief Secretary. Right? This wasn't budgeted for in the last budget, but he wants to come now to ask, and he wants to make demands so that he could sit on some representative of the THA. I suppose himself will sit on the National Security Council. So he could dictate the pace. Okay. All right, if you feel that is necessary. But the 5th schedule basically indicates that the national security remains the preserve of the central government. So unless you come to Parliament and they make a change, it is what it is, family. Now let me just address this thing about the $4.30. Yes, every $100 is $4.30. Now the question was that the minister made the statement that this current administration has received more money than previous Tobago administrations. And that is a fact. Because the size of the budgets that this administration has had for the last 2 to 3 or 4 years, as opposed to previously, means then that when the PNM was there, the budget, the average budget was about low 50s, 52 billion, 53 billion. But over the last 3 to 4 years coming out of COVID, in an attempt to, spur up activity in the economy, we've seen we cross the 55, so 54, 55 billion, 56 billion, 57, in that range, 54 to 57. So obviously 4.3% of 57 billion is more than 4.3% value of 51 or 52. So no matter how you wish to twist it, turn it, bend it, the fact is that what the minister said is true. Your administration has gotten more money than any other THA administration by virtue of the size of the budgets. Even under when the PP was there, rather than give you a 4.3, they give you less than that. And aside from the what it is you are allocated, you still benefit from what the ministries do directly in Tobago that does not impact on the THA budget. So that when it is the Ministry of Public Utilities comes to Tobago and Marvin Gonzalez spending on his ministries, you should be happy. That is one less thing you have to spend money out of your budget. But you're vexed when it is, they come and autonomy, and you vex when the ministries come and do stuff directly in Tobago. They must come and talk to you first. Come and talk to Trevor first, right? Talk to all your first. Don't just come to Tobago and do things. What utter rubbish. You feel the people at Tobago care who do it? At the end of the day, once it is done, it benefits them. You should be happy. When you have ministries coming to Tobago and spending out of their own budgets and spending money directly in Tobago and providing relief for the THA. So the money that you would have had to spend on that, you could spend it on something else. But no, your priority is to be jet setting all over the place. You and the rest of them, Trevor and whoever else, solely marketing Tobago, right? Solely marketing Tobago. What has Tobago benefited? The tourism product. Well, they went and market the first Tobago Carnival to Grenada. How many Grenadians came? You still had to depend on the same Trinidad that all you don't need and don't want. It's the same Trinidadians you had to come and depend on to come and buy costumes and come across so that the carnival could enjoy some level of success. But all your bad mouthing Trinis, but last month, all you're complaining last month that the amount of domestic tourists Trinidadians who came across to Tobago for Easter, that number declined. So a lot of hotels and guest houses didn't see the usual crowds that they're accustomed to. And so that impacts the economy of Tobago. But every time you open your mouth talking rubbish, like you seem to forget when you heard him reference to PNM supporters in Tobago as enslaved sycophants. You are the chief secretary of Tobago. You have responsibility for every single Tobagonian, right? But you don't care that you have persons working in the THA who support the PNM, and you are referencing some of your direct employees, referring to them as enslaved sycophants. But let's say Dr. Rowley using that kind of language to describe. No. But if Dr. Rowley had used that, they would have raked him over the coals. We would not hear the end of it. You would have seen all them newspaper editorials talking about Dr. Rowley and Couth and all of this and how we could use such terminology to describe citizens. That notwithstanding what his views are, they remain citizens of this country and have a right to speak regardless of their political affiliation. But if it is you don't support the TPP, as far as Fali concerned, you're an enslaved sycophant. I don't know, he seems to have a problem with slavery. Right? And if it's not your enslaved sycophant, you have a slave master name. But the other day, he had no problem dressing up like the slave master and going up to England to give the feature address at some event that was hosted by the House of Lords, to put on a scissors tail suit, dress up like Massa, because Massa gave you an opportunity to come and sup with him, sit at the table with him. For one night, you thought you were Massa's equal. Yeah? But always talking about we need to throw out the shackles of colonialism. But you was too happy to spend taxpayers' money to run up the road to sit down with Massa. And then try to talk proper English. Yeah. Yes, Massa, thank you for the opportunity to sit with you at your table and eat with you, Massa. I know this is not an opportunity that is usually afforded, so I couldn't pass it up. I've always wanted to sit with you and experience what it is to sit with you at the table. But when I come back home and call people citizens of this country who have a right to speak, who have a right to be opposed to your party, enslaved sycophants. And the media wouldn't pull him up on that. The men and women of people like Martin George, who always have plenty to say and wanted to give Dr. Rocky Jockey Shorts Award. You come on an interview on TV6, up your tighty whities, your jockey shorts, and talk about you giving the Prime Minister Jockey Shorts Award. Right? But you wouldn't give Pali a Jockey Shorts Award for that foolish statement. Foolish statement to be characterizing people as enslaved sycophants. You want to call them sycophants? Yeah, but the enslaved part, we don't need that. What makes them enslaved? Because they disagree with you? Because they support the policies and programs of the PNM and not what you all offer? The fact that you spend millions of dollars, $13 million on a carnival and you have nothing to show for it? What benefit did you get from courting the Grenadians? Yes, we're going to Grenada to see how they have their carnival so we could emulate that. And what you had a set of Trinidad bands going up to Tobago. How many bands came from Grenada? Going all over the place. Well, they love Germany, Jamaica. We're going to tourism conference here, there, and everywhere. Spending days and millions of dollars spent. What Tobago had to show for it? Who bringing the cruise ships to Tobago? A Trinidadian. Trinidadian bringing the cruise ships to Tobago. And when he does that, what happened at the start of last cruise season? The Tobagonian taxi drivers decided we boycotted. So tourists who spend the money to tour the island, there was no transportation for them. So you're embarrassed, right? You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And a first impression was left on these tourists for the one day that they would have spent in Tobago. Spend the money, did their research, and looking forward to seeing these places in Tobago. And to be told, we have no transport. So one tourist had to go and spend her money to hire a private taxi, and the man tried to extort, carry her and the husband up on some hill up there and tell them, well, you know, with the traffic and all of this different thing, you got to pay more money. The woman said, and this is somebody who is on social media, somebody who has over 1 million followers on Instagram, right? Had to go and do a live on Instagram to talk about the bad experience that she had in Tobago, where a Tobagonian taxi driver tried to extort her. That when she and her husband got into the car, she and her friend, whoever, got into the car and asked the driver, how much would it be to take us around here? You give them a fare. And then as soon as you reach, you tell them, well, here, what now? You got to pay me a little more, you know, because you probably weren't expecting them to readily accept the first fare you call. So you tell yourself they have money. You know what? So let me dig out their eye. And when the woman told you, no, we're not paying you any more money because we asked you from the outset, how much is this going to cost? And you gave us a figure and we agreed. He will tell them, well, here, what, all you got to come out here, you know. Because I need to go back down, because in order for me to make money, I need to go back down the hill, go back down to the port and pick up some more tourists and bring them up. So I will leave all here, I could walk around for a little bit. Let me go back down the road. Since you don't want to pay me any more money, let me go and pick up some more tourists and bring them up here so that they could see too. I'll leave all here and walk around and then carry all back down. And she went on Instagram, did a million of them, the experience that she had in the yes. And the comments were very flattering from her followers. So, of course, the Tobago Tourism Association, whatever it is they call them, they had to do a mad scramble along with the Secretary for Tourism and put together a package to apologize and try and see if they could mend fences with the lady when they found out about this. Please, people, you don't want that. Right? That's what they had to do. What you did about it? That did more damage to the Tobago tourism product than anything that you all have achieved with respect to boosting Tobago tourism for the last 2.5 years that you've been there. All that work was being done with just one social media influencer with millions of followers. Just want to throw that out there for him. You're complaining you need your money, they owing you money and about overdraft and how much interest on the overdraft, but you have money to put bounty on shark head. You have money for that. Or you have money for secretaries to feel entitled that they could go abroad and a storm coming in, and rather than wait for the flight that they had booked, the commercial flight, that you could just make arrangements to hire a private jet to take you back to Tobago because you named secretary. And the THA have money and they go pay for that. Because the secretary was stranded and therefore it's a legitimate expense. How was that eventually paid for? But you see, if it was the PNM had done that, UNC would have filed freedom of information request to make sure that what was claimed happened, which is what Trevor say he paid for it out of his own money, and Pali tell us the THA ain't go pay for that. Do we know if the THA paid for it? We don't know because there has been no follow-up. So that story just went by the wayside, right? And easy, they could do that thing undercover, pay it, and nobody knows. Because guess what? The media not asking any follow-up questions. And who's supposed to be asking follow-up questions, not asking follow-up questions. So as far as we know, Trevor said he paid for it out of his pocket. And we don't know if there were any, if he was able to recoup that money through any other means, and that dead. That dead. But you're coming out to gripe and complain about the minister thing and the talking bull rush, and that is probably a nice way of saying another type of bull. Say what you want to say, we know the word you want to use it. Use it. Not the first time. Anyway. Yeah, but so those are the chronicles of Tobago under him. One Jews. Right? But anyway, understand the budgetary process and how it works. But you see, it's convenient for him to go and say these things, and people like JB Harper and them applauding that, and my setter Tuck and the rest of them applauding that. People like, what's her name? Oh gosh, I forget this next loudmouth one. Who every time Dr. Oli do a press conference, she need to come and give a running commentary. Bernie Jack Gregg. All of them. Anyway. So let me see something. Sandra, please forgive me. Please forgive me. And I did say that this is a preview indulgence day. I know I don't like to hear this clown. I don't like to listen to him either, but sometimes you need to play, right? Because I need to speak to this issue. And you need to expose these clowns. So forgive me. Please, I beg you. I'll try as best as possible not to play the whole thing, right? So forgive me. I beg you from in front. Get this. The title of this is PNM hates black people. Here is proof. Say no to race politics. A race card is a bad card. Vote for intelligence, vote for policy, vote for yourself, vote for your family, vote on facts and figures, vote UNC. All right? Listen to this. If walking contradiction was a person, it would be this bald-headed clown. Again, I'm begging you all to please bear with me. There is method to the madness.
And one present day. And you know something? When I finished talking to Raman hugged me up and said, I never know understand. It's a black man party. No matter how much pain and suffering, no matter 100 examples. But I'm going to use 2 examples of why race makes no sense in politics in Trinidad and Tobago, especially the argument that PNM is trying to tell you PNM is a black man party. No matter how much pain and suffering, no matter how much your pocket empty, no matter how much your money ain't worth nothing, no matter how much unemployment, no matter how much crime, no matter how much lack of accountability, PNM black man must vote, PNM black woman must vote PNM. Okay. Let me give you a present day example of why that is the most nonsensical argument. The Indian Prime Minister, Bastio Pandey, coming into office, granted the pan fraternity, the pan men, the pan players, the pan culture of Trinidad and Tobago 30 acres of land. Pan is 95% Afro-Trinbagonian. Yes, you have your Jit Samaru and some Indian involved, of course, but 95% is black woman, black man, black children, black people, black community, African. And the Indian Prime Minister, Bastio Pandey, not the PNM who had ruled for 40 years and so on, Pandey granted the Pan fraternity 30 acres of land, state land, to develop a Pan headquarters, to develop a mall, to develop museum, to develop business opportunities so that people, as they land in the airport, they could flow into the Pan headquarters and Pan fraternity could make money. They could build a Pan factory, whatever they want there. They could charge rent. They could become businessmen and the Pan fraternity could prosper. That was done by the Indian Prime Minister, Bastio Pandey. Now, the African Prime Minister, the PNM Prime Minister, the Rowley, the Tobagonian, the man who say he's so black, people don't want him to be Prime Minister, all of that nonsense. The black African PNM Prime Minister has taken the land from the black African Pan fraternity and handed it to an Indian businessman, rich man from India. Taken it away with the assistance of black people in Tobago, the few of them who decided to let Rowley take 30 acres from black people, from African people, for investment, for future generations, for revenue generation, for business, for entrepreneurial spirit, to promote the PAN, the national instrument. Rowley, the black PNM African Prime Minister, as always say, went to India, put on kurta, went to Hindu temple and hand away 30 acres of black man land to an Indian. Let me give you a historical example now. That race in Trinidad and Tobago, anybody who brings race into politics is making an asinine argument. There was a man called Stokely Carmichael, who was born in Trinidad and Tobago, left here at 11 years old and went into the southern states of the United States of America, where black people were oppressed. Slavery had been replaced with Jim Crow, oppression, separation, division, police brutality, decimation, disrespect. He's a true guy, Malcolm X, alongside all those freedom fighters. The PNM banned the black man from coming home. You know who allowed Stokely Carmichael, the black African leader, the radical leader who fought for black people to come back home to the land of his birth? The Indian Prime Minister, Vasdeo Pandey. And if only don't understand that the PNM was never policies for poor, black and brown, African and Indian, that the PNM has always uplifted those rich elites, and the rich must get richer, and the poor must wean themselves off the government. Anybody making a racial argument to vote is making a ridiculous, vacuous argument. The PNM is elitist. And if you want, not only watch this video, let me show you who Stokely Carmichael was. But ask yourself, the PNM has run this country for over 55 years. How many black African billionaires have been created by the PNM? Others have been created of different races and different hues. So when the PNM come and tell you, don't vote for Kamala, don't vote for them Indian, don't support Indian, when they use the subterfuge and the subliminal messaging of race, reject it. One, we are all one race, the human race. Two, Trinidad and Tobago is banned from Trinidad and Tobago by the PNM. There was a black revolution, black revolution.
So I told you all the title of that. I don't know what to call that. Say no to race politics. A race card is a bad card. Vote for intelligence, vote for policy, vote for yourself, vote for your family, vote on facts and figures, vote UNC. PNM hates black people. Here is the proof. Say no to race politics. What was that? That wasn't race politics. No. That wasn't race politics, right? That was, again, I don't know what to call that. So he starts off, he comes to tell you, well, the PNM is supposed to be a black man party. Rowley's a black man. Yes, as an African, they want to tell you you're supposed to vote for the PNM because it's a black party. But stop voting that way. Don't vote for the PNM because it's black. That's what he tells. But when he comes to tell you, a race card is a bad card. Say no to race politics. But you're coming to gaslight Africans to tell them don't vote for the PNM because the PNM is supposed to be an African party. And if the PNM is supposed to be an African party, they're only supposed to be doing things to uplift the African community. And because they're doing things that they're telling you is uplifting persons of other races, right? Don't vote for them. Rowley is a traitor to the Africans because the PNM was started by Africans. The PNM is predominantly African, and therefore Rowley needs to do more for the Africans. And he ain't doing enough. But you see, he likes to do this. And this is what Kamala Persad-Bissessar is offering to St. Joseph. Because when the PNM hired Mr. Eric Keskula, you all remember that? To head up, to lead Heritage. He did a live just like this. Coming to tell you, the PNM is supposed to be an African party, a black man party, but Rowley going to hire a white man to run Heritage. If he couldn't find no African in Trinidad to get the work, he go outside to find a white man to bring him here. And he's the blackest man in Trinidad and Tobago. He's the blackest man, but look who he put. He telling you, don't play race, don't play the race card, don't play race politics, don't vote based on race. Right? Because the PNM, don't vote for the PNM because it's supposed to be an African party. Vote for the UNC because they're all inclusive. The UNC don't discriminate. The UNC not about racism. No. UNC welcomes everybody. But when the PNM does it, he come to tell you, Rowley's supposed to be an African, the blackest man. So he said, and the PNM supposed to be a black man party. But look who Rowley have as ministers. He given all the top ministries to the Indian and the Syria. That's what he's telling you. Look who is the minister of finance. And look who is the minister of works and transport. And look who is the attorney general. And look who is the minister of this. And look who is the minister of that. If the PNM is a black man party, the whole cabinet supposed to be African. But he's telling you don't play race politics. So because the whole cabinet is not African, don't vote for Rowley because Rowley is a traitor to all the Africans. He's supposed to be doing more to help all you. That's what he's saying. And he's proud. But you see, I need to play these things to show you the hypocrisy. Not that you don't know it. Not that you don't know it. But there are people outside there who want to come and tell you a pack of rubbish about what the PNM is doing nothing for black people. And he and the party that he is a member of continues to push that stupid, dotish narrative. So he wants to tell you the UNC is all embracing. But don't vote for Rowley because Rowley take away the 30 acres of land from the African Trinbago and give it to an East Indian. 30 acres, he went and he gave it to a man in India. So I want to ask him, when Kamala went to the same India in 2012, and she talked to the same Indian that Rowley gave the 30 acres to, and the same Indian was coming here to build an ammonia plant, where he was going to build it in space, how many acres was she going to give him to build it? But it's okay because she's East Indian, so she could give to hers, right? Because the UNC is considered to be an East Indian party, and they're supposed to uplift the East Indians. So if the Indian party gave an East Indian 30 acres, nothing wrong with that. But if the African, the black man, gave 30 acres to an East Indian, something wrong with that, something wrong with he. So don't vote for he on the basis that he is looking for investment. That when Dr. Rowley goes out there, he's not seeing a race when it comes to investments in Trinidad and Tobago. Foreign direct investment, because to build this academy is going to take a lot of money. So that is money that is coming into Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm pretty sure Mr. Ambani not coming here with rupees. I'm pretty sure he's not coming here with TT dollars. He's not coming here with pesos or Guyanese dollars. He's coming with US dollars, which the economy needs. And given the exchange rate with US to TT, it makes sense for him to bring US here because it will cost him less. Right? But he has seen that. The only thing he's seeing, don't vote for Rowley because Rowley went and the Indian Prime Minister gave the black African Trinbago 30 acres to build this and build that. And almost 30 years later, other than that monstrosity that they had, nothing built. The only activity taking place on that piece of land for the last almost 30 years is every once in a while they cut the grass and that's about it. Nothing further. We saw they recently put up a fence and they put up a gate, and that was that because the current president of Trinbago said she intends to complete the facility. But all them other things you talk about, build mall and build pan factory, we already have a pan factory. Quite recently, a couple of weeks ago, we heard that the Russell Atopi Secondary School, that they too are now going into pan manufacturing. The students, this is now being offered to them, so they will be building pan in the school. So based on all your logic, we don't need another cricket academy because we have one. So why we need another pan factory when we already have? Why we need it? Make that make sense, Sumana? We don't need another cricket academy because we already have one, but we can have 5 and 6 and 7 pan factories, right? That logic, that maths in for me. But that is his thinking. And you have, unfortunately, people like Kingsley, and Professor Misinformation and Captain Clueless, who buy into that stupid narrative that they take away 30 acres of land from the Africans. Who won the junior school panorama last year and this year? Who won it? Which school won it? I want to ask him that, since PAN is only for African and it's majority Africans, because remember Satmarad say, while the Hindu students beat in book, the African beat in PAN. So that's all they know, to beat PAN, right? But plenty of them who beat in book, when they get their passes and the government scholarship, they come back and work 2 years and then they hop on a plane and go abroad. Some of them, they go abroad on the government scholarship, and when they finish, get their studies, they get work opportunities over there, and so they make it enough money, they don't mind paying back the government. But the PAN players, what they doing? What they doing? They're here, grinding it out every year, joining, they playing with 3, 4, 5 different steel bands. But that piece of filth that you just listened to there, he wants to be the next member of parliament for St. Joseph. He has been anointed by his political leader to be the next minister of sport. So 4 years of him as minister of sport wasn't bad enough. We need to endure 5. We need to endure 5. So he doesn't get. So they're giving you the impression, yes, we're going to have a free and fair screening process. So everybody has the opportunity will be screened. But you don't tell the man who have hopes to be the next member of parliament for St. Joseph that he's going to be the next minister of sport. So for him to be minister, he had to be in your cabinet. And right now he wants to be an elected member of the cabinet, not through the Senate. Not through the Senate. But do you hear, and especially for the UNC supporters who listening here, well, they always like to say, oh, the PNM always playing the race card and the PNM. Well, you ever hear, contrary to the idiocy that he just spoke there, you ever hear anybody in the PNM telling people that don't vote for the UNC because it's an Indian party and they only do anything for the Indian? You ever hear a PNM senator talk that trash? This man is a UNC senator, sitting in the Senate of Trinidad and Tobago, the upper house, contributing to the making and passage of laws. And he coming to talk this diatribe and this foolishness. I could tell you, if any PNM senator was to do that, in the morning, Dr. Rowley bust their throat. In the morning, their throat bust. Your 10 years senator done. And we have ample example of that. And I always cite the example of Ansel Anto. He was selected by the screening committee to be the member of parliament to run for W. Mera again for the 2020 election. Already selected, screened and selected. And in the process of campaigning, made one mistake, went on a platform and say some piece of stupidness. And by the next morning, out you go. Open screening again for W. Mera, we need to find a replacement. For one piece of stupidness that he said, but this clown, Prasad Bisasa, will applaud that. And he could come and day after day, making lives like that and talking stupidness, foolishness like that. And he remains a senator, right? Sitting in the Senate of Trinidad and Tobago. He's still there. And every once in a while, they bring him to talk on the platform in the Monday Night Forum so he can repeat that nastiness on national TV and national radio. So give him a wider audience so he could talk that trash and then all they clap and applaud that. But the PNM like to play the race card. Yeah, the PNM like to play the race card. And so he telling black people, don't vote for Rowley and the PNM because they betray it's supposed to be an African party. Yeah, they're giving an Indian 30 acres of land to build something to benefit the country at no cost to the state other than the land. So don't vote for him because of that. Right? Because he only given, there's an Indian prime minister that gave it to the African Trinbago. That's what he telling you. So look how Rowley betrayed the African community, but you wouldn't tell them what the replacement was that Trinbago got. Right? A whole building on Ryson Road, prime real estate in Port of Spain, on Ryson Road, just after the waterfront. Prime real estate. They fix that up and do a valuation. You know how much money that is worth? Prime real estate. Let me keep repeating that. They have a whole building has been given to them. So once the deed is handed over and all of the technical issues are handled and so on, and they have the official deed with their name on it, they could go to the bank and get a loan to fix the facility. Right? That is an asset that they have gotten. They sit down on this land there for the longest while. What are they doing with it? What are they doing with it? You see, the bank is more likely to give a loan if you have a building than a piece of land. It's easier to sell a building that is in good condition than it is to sell land of that nature, especially where that piece of land is there, right? But for almost 30 years, other than that edifice that is there, what else has been done other than cutting the grass? But the government didn't just say, hey, we're taking this land and we'll give all it up. They sat down with the executive of Tobago and made the offer, and Beverly Ramsey Moore, in her wisdom, saw the benefits and she took it. Prime real estate in Port of Spain. So that building will soon be theirs. If you all know the building, if you head west and you pass the waterfront, you pass the Hyatt and so on, there's the car park, the government offices in the campus there, and then right at that, there's a sort of pinkish building right there that used to be the Division of Lands and Surveys and so on. That building is what has been given to them. But he will talk about that and all he will tell you, they take the land. So for who don't know, for the ignorant among us who are not aware of the exchange, tell you they take the land from the African Pan Tobago, and give it to the Indian to build a cricket academy. But he wouldn't tell you that Pan Tobago gets something significant. Wouldn't tell you that. So don't vote for Rowley because of that. And he wants to tell you they take 30 acres and give it to the Indian man, right? That's how they're describing. Imagine, I wonder how Kieran Pollard feels and Dinanath Ramnarine feeling when they see a video like this, knowing the work that they put in, right? The relationship they have with the Ambani family, have no racism, no nothing there. This is one love. This is African Kieran Pollard and the East Indian Dinanath Ramnarine going to India, seeing what India has to offer to its citizens, and they realized Trinidad and Tobago could benefit from something like this. And they went to Mr. Ambani, had a discussion with him. He said, yeah, all right, we could do that. We're willing to invest our money. We will talk to the government and see what can be arranged with respect to land, and we will fix the suit. Right? So imagine Kieran Pollard seeing this and hearing Anil Ross, a senator, a member of the upper house, going alive and referring to the richest man in Asia as an Indian man. They get to take us an Indian man. So you reduce Mr. Ambani as some self-seeking Indian man who want to come in Trinidad and Tobago and take things from the African. You're already sowing seeds of division. Sowing seeds of division. Right? This man who is thousands of kilometers away in India, who has built this successful business, who doesn't have to come to Trinidad and Tobago to do this because it have plenty of other Caribbean islands he could go to and do that, and he would be appreciated for it. But in Trinidad and Tobago, no. And you have idiots calling themselves patriots on that side, in that party, who supporting that folly and who applauding this and sharing. Let me see how many shares that got. Just to give you all an idea. Right? Let me see how many shares that. Because every share means they like it. They like the content and it making sense and it's worthy for others to hear. Policies. 87 shares, 3,500. 87 people thought it made sense to share. 87 people. And that's for now, right? Because he made that live 2 days ago. So as more people see it and so on, they will decide how we want to share. Let's fix this here. Right. So I was making the point. You feel if Mukesh Ambani or Akash Ambani see that and understand, but this man is a senator. This man has aspirations of being part of the next government of Trinidad and Tobago. When is general elections in Trinidad and Tobago due? Next year, 2025. So even though we've negotiated with this administration, you're telling me the possibility exists that if it is that we seek to undertake this investment, this significant investment is probably going to cost a few $100 million, right? That we face the possibility, and there's a lot of pushback from persons who support that party that hopes to be the government next year. So if they have pushback, not just from the ordinary members of the party, but from senior members of the party who are likely to serve as government ministers, then it means that we face the possibility that if they win next year, that we could run into some problems with the construction of this facility. So do we want to proceed with this, given the possibility that they could be in office and that they could undo what this administration has done? These are the seeds of doubt that is sowing in the minds of these people. You feel eventually that's not going to reach Mr. Ambani? The Indian High Commissioner in Trinidad, you feel he's not seeing and hearing about these things? You think he's not reading about it and the pushback that is coming from that party? He is responsible for representing Indian interests in this country. And when it is the richest man in his country, the richest man in Asia, and the 9th richest man in the world, is being maligned and denigrated like this by a senator, no less. What are you going to do? Sandals all over again. And then if next week you hear, well, Mr. Ambani has decided that he's going to build this facility in Jamaica or Barbados instead. You're going to hear that, but we didn't want the thing. We were just, where is the defense for that? Where is it? So they are reaping. They want to talk, they're doing enough for tourism. And what are they doing for tourism? Without examining the significant contribution that sandals, you know this figure, we always talk about sandals, but you see, for those of us who know and who do the research and see the impact that sandals has had in terms of tourism on the islands where they have a resort, the money that they are spending. When I am sitting watching cable TV in the night and I am seeing sandals as 3 and 4 different channels, and I am seeing sandals advertisements, right? Talking about sandals Jamaica and sandals St. Lucia and sandals this and sandals that. And they are on all of these channels, marketing to all of these people from around the world who seeing that, right? Who seeing these things, right? They marketing, they're on the government of these countries to market because their resorts, wherever they're located, they are going out there and negotiate with new airlines to come to bring tourists to these islands so that to patronize their facilities. That is what they are doing. Sandals is spending their money to market their brand and to market the islands on which they're located. And that, because Sandals, the brand is known, right? It is known. So they already have a presence that the government cannot do. I was making the point to you all the other day, a couple days ago, that with respect to tourism, yes, I agree, more needs to be done to promote destination Trinidad and Tobago. But a key to promote, it makes no sense you're promoting a destination and room stock is a problem. And the type of room stock is what you have to look at. So that is why during COVID, when this administration decided they were going to spend $50 million in Tobago to provide grants to the guest houses and the hotels. You know what a grant means? They don't have to pay it back. The government is giving you money to fix up your hotel because the borders are closed, nobody is coming. So you don't have to worry about construction work bothering or disturbing your guests. The borders are closed, nobody is here. Now is the ideal time for you to make the whatever renovations and stuff to your facility so that when the borders reopen and the tourists start back coming, you have a finished product, an improved product for them. What the members on the other side were saying, nobody ain't coming, so what are they spending that money for? Or they could spend that money and give people and give people food hamper. And or they could take that $50 million and give people income support grant and salary support grants. That's what they were. It didn't occur to them, but now is really the best time to fix it. So room stock. But you have some of these same Chinese who complaining the guest house and them Tobago run down and they this and they that. Right? Washing your mouth on domestic tourism. Room stock. So I gave you the example of having gone to Dominica and the challenges that Dominica is facing. Again, they too have the room stock problem. Other than the Intercontinental, they don't have another facility like that on the island other than Secret Bay. And if those two facilities are booked up, what they have left is not of the best. It is not of the best. So they have to fix that. They need to address that. So it's either the government build hotels and invite foreign brands to come and manage it, as we have in Trinidad here with the Hilton and the Hyatt, or try and see if they could encourage these brands to come and invest their own money in the island and build hotels, because that is the only way you're going to get the tourists to come. They're not going to come if the accommodation is subpar. You lie down in your bed in the night and cockroach running all over the wall, or you lie down in the bed and you're hearing mice and rats fighting outside. That is people not going to spend their money for that. You have conference tourism, which is another thing. People looking to go to destinations where you have all-inclusive hotels. You're looking to see hotels that facilities, right? So that you could, as we did with our conference. But even the Intercontinental Hotel that we stayed at, their conference facilities, their whole, unlike Hyatt, which has this huge conference facility, right? The main hall. And that is why Hyatt gets so much business, because you have different business entities going there because of the size. The Hilton has lost business over the years because their facility is not like the Hyatt's. But even so, we had to use in Dominica the one of the classrooms, or the main classrooms, for students in the American Canadian Medical School there. So they have, you would have seen on television how these things are. So it's this huge, huge room, and you have like a whole set of rows of seats that you can sit down with desks. We had to use that to host our conferences because the hotel didn't have sufficient facilities, because they're not catering for that. So these are the things that Trinidad and Tobago needs if it is that we have to attract that type of tourism. Right? You have companies in Trinidad that every year when they need to have conferences for the executives, they go abroad. They go to Miami, they go into Panama, they go into New York instead of doing it in Trinidad and Tobago. But these little things that assist, and we keep making the point, when Mr. Ambani comes here to build this facility here, right? Obviously, it is an opportunity. So now it is for the government to go and sit down with the Indian ambassador. Invite the Indian ambassador to come and speak to whoever is the Minister of Foreign Affairs or Tourism, whoever, and see how we can leverage on this opportunity. When Mr. Ambani and his executives come here, how we need to show them around so that they could see what are the other business opportunities that there are in Trinidad and Tobago. But they want to run him, nobody to come here. So your leader went in 2012, she said we're getting all of these things and we got absolutely nothing. Nothing did we get, other than a bill for 15 million taxpayers dollars. So now we're seeing this thing is because it's not just the government doing this. You have Kiran Pollard who is there to ensure that this thing comes to fruition. So even if there is he might have to play middleman to tell Mr. Ambani, don't study them, Trinidad just like that, just politics, everything is politics, so don't study them. He might have to do that. He shouldn't have to do that. So even if he is inclined to try and get other investments to Trinidad and Tobago, with the level of asinine pushback that you're getting from the supporters of that party, he might say, you see me, I'm not going through that. I did this with the Cricket Academy. If it comes true, okay, and if it doesn't, but that's it. I wash my hands of it because Trinidad is too blasted and ungrateful. Forget Keith Rowley. Study the cricketers who work behind the scenes to make this thing happen. Pollard mashing up the place in the IPL, but yeah, you see it. Yeah. Well, they love him too bad. But now he is using his influence, where he is, to bring investments to Trinidad and Tobago, not just money in community economy, but things that could benefit future cricketers so that they could have the opportunities that he has, the opportunities that he had to live the lifestyle that he is living, and other cricketers will have a problem with that. But today or tomorrow, the government say we're going and spend 300 million to finish the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. The same clowns who talking about we already have an academy and we don't need our next one. You will hear earlier. Where they find the money for that? They only will find public servants 4%. And I thought they have money. And they have money. And then they both say, Jawala Rambaran tell them to only have money for 3 days to run the country. So where they get any money from to go and build this thing now? Or where they get any money from to pay the coaches? And they could use that money because people are suffering. And they could use that money to do this and use that money to do that. But we're getting it without any cost to the government, and they still have a problem with that. But then your leader have the audacity to talk about your party is patriots. Really? Because clearly you're operating with a different dictionary than the rest of us. Because your definition of patriot definitely different from ours. And they need to be called out on the folly and the foolishness. So when I listen to this bald-headed afterbird, to use a term from Watchman in one of his calypsos, talking this rubbish about don't vote based on race, and the race card is a bad card. But you come to talk for 9 minutes and 23 seconds to gaslight persons of African descent to tell them don't vote for Rowley and the PNM because they're supposed to be an African party, but they're doing more for other races. So Rowley giving the Indian man 30 acres to build a cricket academy to benefit the East Indians, the Africans, the Chinese, the Syrian Lebanese, the Venezuelans, and anybody else, and not just from Trinidad, throughout the state-of-the-art world-class facility in Trinidad. Come, regardless, that don't matter. Come and participate, and bring your money and come to Trinidad. He ain't studying that, right? But when you want to tell black people, Africans, look what Rowley doing. He only uplifting the Indian, while Pandey, the East Indian Prime Minister, lifted up the Africans. 30 acres. Why you don't talk about the 100 acres that your Prime Minister, the party of which you were a part, gave to a member of the 1% down in Tucker Valley? Say to plant onions for export. 100 acres. Last I checked, 100 is more than 30. More than 3 times more what the East Indian man getting to build the academy. Right? To a private citizen, 100 acres to plant onions to export. They go down there today. How much onions it have? You know what? I mightn't see onions, but you know what I will see? I'll see a restaurant. I will see. That is what I will see. On arable farmland, a restaurant. How the taxpayers benefiting from that? Other than whatever taxes they pay on the profits that they make on that restaurant. You don't have a problem with that. I remember the 1%, but rolling the back pocket of the 1%. And I know what I'll see behind that restaurant? A paved area with heavy equipment. A paved area that is being rented to house that heavy equipment. So the owner of that business making money off of the heads of land, state lands that was given to him to plant onions. But that bald-headed clown ain't gonna talk about it. You have no problem with Kamala giving the 1% 100 acres, whatever problem with Keith Rowley giving 30 acres to the East Indian man to build something to benefit the future of this country at no cost to the state. Right? I posted earlier on the debunking page on Facebook a post from Foster Cummings' page, 30-something pictures, where yesterday he and some other ministers went down to Tucker Valley for the Shade House project, right? A state-sponsored project for the youth of Trinidad and Tobago, youth in agriculture. Because they keep talking about diversification and we need to diversify the economy. But I want you all to go and take a look at it. Even if you don't look at it on the debunking page, go on Foster Cummings' page and you will see it. See the kind of infrastructure that they have put down in Tucker Valley for the youth, 18 to 35-year-olds in this country who looking to become entrepreneurs, agri-entrepreneurs, right? The same lands that was used by Patrick Manning to create the mega farm so that we could diversify the economy in agriculture and make money, so that we could earn foreign exchange by selling some of the produce abroad and boost our foreign reserves. That when Kamala and her crooks came in, so the state must not be competing with the private sector and shut down all the mega farms. Shut it down, right? And replaced it with what? 100 acres to plant onions. Replaced it with what? Bulldoze the crops of private farmers down in Grove Road so that you could give one member of the 1% 4 acres of land for $1 a year for 30 years so he could build a car park for his water park. Diversify the economy. That's what they did. And it took Keith Rowley when he came into office as Prime Minister, take back 50 acres of the 100 acres that was given to the onion man. Keith Rowley did that. Today that 50 acres is available for use to benefit the youth of this country. The citizens, instead of it benefiting one, could benefit hundreds. That's right, hundreds. Keith Rowley did that. Took back 50 acres and wasn't just from that one. The 4 acres that was given to build the car park, he take back that too. So that too is available for the farming community. Multiple citizens instead of one. $1 a year for 30 years. Just keep that at the top of all your mind. $1 a year for 30 years. So he would have paid $30 over the course of that lease for 4 acres of land for his car park, which was supposed to then, once it was constructed, to be leased to the CDA for over $900,000 a month. So he given the government $1 a year, but we're supposed to receive $900,000 a month for the CDA. Multiply 900,000 by 12. How much money you getting? Almost $12 million he making, and he paying $1 out of that. But that making sense to them. Yeah, that making sense to the supporters of that party. That is good governance. And when you read their manifesto for 2025, what they're telling you, we intend to continue what we started in the Chaguaramas Peninsula. So all you who march and walk in the hot blazing sun from Chagaramas to the waterfront to complain that they're giving away the lands in Chagaramas, the only benefit that came from that was you get some exercise. And you probably lost a pound or two. And a 10-year reprieve. But put them back into office come next year. And the same thing that you all march for, they intend to continue it, to give away the lands down there. I see Philip Alexander put up a post talking a pack of nonsense about in Tobago, where they want to put the hotel, the Rocky Bay Hotel, and talking foolishness about the Prime Minister in his conversations, chastise the people who are opposing the development and Rowley looking to back for the 1% and so on. And he ain't care about the environment and the ecology and the this and the that, right? And beach access and all kind of foolishness. What about the beach access behind the water park? What about that beach access? I remember back in the days when it used to have a KFC down there and you could have one park, you could eat your KFC and jump in the beach behind. What about that? Where was Philip then? There was a problem with that. When the Chagaramas Convention Center was leased out, there was a problem with that. All the lands that was given away down on that side, didn't have any problem. How much acres they gave to one of them to put up a petting zoo. Well, I see the petting zoo closed down now. Lands that should have been for agriculture was given for that type of venture. What did the wider citizenry benefit? Where was Philip? Where were all these bleeding hearts? But you come in to talk a pack of rubbish about race and don't vote for the PNM because the black man ain't doing nothing for the black man. Really? Go on first the comments page. Go on the Facebook page of the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service and see how many things Keith Rowley has put in place for not just the black man, not just the African. Up to $20,000 to start a business, free commercial space and reduced rents in New City Mall, and they have a problem with that. The same man who telling you don't vote for Rowley because they only care about the other races and they ain't doing nothing for the African. They feel he will do a live at Doubles and Coffee and Border, encourage the people of East Port of Spain to put down the gun and pick up the grant. You feel he will do that? No. Because if you do that, hey, then we cannot appeal to the African community to get their votes so that they could come and get baby grant, food card, and color me orange. Or we could do that. So we pretend as if we don't know about these things. We're not aware. But behind the scenes, you know what? We will tell our people go and take advantage of it. And all those who are always batting for East Dry River and East Port of Spain and the youth in East Port of Spain wouldn't do it either. They wouldn't say, you know what? Let me put aside the selfishness for a moment. And let me use my platform to encourage the youth of the area to take up this opportunity that the government has provided to start their own business and make our money instead of, no. And ring bell. No, but I go ring bell on Rowley head and talk stupidness and talk about it's better Kamala come back because we will get this school and that secondary school. But no interest in promoting business. You know why? Because some people are just selfish. They want all for themselves. Others mustn't prosper like they're prospering. So we could, every now and then you could do a video and show, look my big house. Yes, I get that from my father. Right. But other people mustn't utilize opportunities that this government giving them to live in big house too. You alone must live in big house. And you alone must show up your big house. But they mustn't have that opportunity. But Rowley ain't doing nothing for the black people. He ain't doing nothing. Or other put some licks on the government too, because when it is that you see persons have benefited from these programs, we need to see more of it. People have been asking right here in the comments, and suggesting we need to see testimonials from people who have benefited from the program so that they could encourage the other young people. But you know what we see on TikTok? You see where Rowley in the youth and them by. He been come with some program for you to go and dig dirt in the hot sun. That's what we see. Where the TikTok videos are the people who have benefited, who are in the second year of the program, who are about to receive the 2 acres of land, they start a home and the $20,000 to start a business. Why are we seeing more from them? Why? Why is it that I have to go on Foster Cummings' page to see this? The UNC was using Voices Your Government working for you. They had radio station and television stations. The government by law is entitled to commandeer a certain amount of time from every radio station to be able for government programming. Why are we not using that? To spread the news, to advertise these programs so the young people who sit down and waiting and say that they have nothing because that is what the elders telling them if they have nothing. Every day I have people messaging me, send me the link now so my child could sign up for this. Send me the link now, send me the link. You know many requests I keep getting every day to send a link? There are people out there who want to get involved, but they don't know how because you go on the website of the Ministry of Development and every link that you press, nothing working. Work needs to be done on that website. The same level of effort that they're putting into the Facebook page and the other social media platform pages, you need to put that work into your website because that's the first place people will go to. That needs to be done. What is the point of having all of these programs and the young people don't know how to access it? There's one other thing I wanted to talk about. What's the time there? 1:40. Right. I will touch on that quickly. So I've been having a back and forth exchange in one of these groups with some of the fully done. One of them in particular, her name is Natalie Jaikara. Some of you might have probably come across that. Talk about a fully done nuisance. Right? So I raised the issue about the crime issue and the impact that the UNC's efforts at getting the court to overturn murder as a non-bailable offense is having on Trinidad and Tobago. Because we keep seeing and we keep reading that a lot of the crimes that are being committed by persons who would have been arrested by the police for murder, and they were able to get bail because of what the UNC lawyers did in 2022, namely Jayanti Lakshmidiyal and Anna Ramlogan and others. Well, boy, you talk about fight down all kind of stupidness. They're trying to, you can't blame the UNC for that, and you can't blame Kamla because the Privy Council made that decision, and this and that, and what Kamla have to do with the judge and the magistrate giving the Kamla and tell them to get bail and all that. And I have to keep making the point. For 107 years, it wasn't even a consideration. For 107 years in this country, persons applying who are accused of murder applying for bail was unheard of. Now it's a common occurrence. So when I read yesterday morning that one of the 4 men who were killed by the police, based on what we were told that there was an exchange, a shootout between the police and these 4 men who were accused of being involved in the kidnapping of the young lady, I think it's Alicia Hussain. That one of the young men who was killed was out on bail for his involvement in the murders that took place in the Pennywise heist, which saw 3 people, 2 persons being killed and 1 person receiving life-altering injuries. One of the officers, it was reported that his wife was pregnant, and I think he wasn't even made aware yet. He didn't find out yet that his wife was pregnant. 2 persons there. And this young man, along with others, they were out on some $6 million bail. $6 million bail, right? And because they were out on bail, when they should have been behind bars, for as long as it takes for the case to call, thanks to the efforts of UNC attorneys in 2021, 2022, they were able to secure bail, notwithstanding the heinous crime that they committed. Right? So you now have a child who was born without his father being there. Will never know the voice of what his father's voice sounds like, what his father's face looks like, will never know. Right? Because when his father was killed and his life was snuffed out, unnecessarily, the child was still in womb. But in spite of that, you had a judicial officer who thought this person is not a threat to society. And probably thought $6 million bail, they can't make that. But I question the same thing. $6 million bail? Who take that bail? Because when you listen to the interview that was done with the man's aunt, who told us that the mother left him as a child 5 years old with her, and the mother went to Tortuga, and she sends money and clothes and things for him. So when he was asked, where he working? The aunt said, well, he never really worked because the mother used to take care of him. She used to send money and send clothes and anything else that he needed for him. So at the end of the day, nobody could say that she abandoned her child. She took care of her child and she was sending stuff. Right? I'm sure mommy probably tried to get him to come up to Tortuga, but the life he living in Trinidad, he don't want to go to Tortuga, where he doesn't know anybody and probably had to subject himself to mommy's rule. So living free as a bird here, send the money, send the clothes and whatever else I need, and I will stay here. $6 million. Who take that bail? The police did any investigation to find out the link between who took the bail and this individual? When we look at the type of high-powered weapons that was used in that Pennywise heist, this young man works nowhere. And I'm pretty sure his mother wasn't sending him the kind of money that it would take to buy such weapons. Who took that bail? What is their situation, the financial situation? And what would have prompted them to take the bail for this individual? Right? For such a crime. And he works nowhere. Okay? But because he was out on bail for murder and other crimes for which he could have been denied bail, he was able to participate in this enterprise of kidnapping this young woman. Who knows what other crimes he may have committed since he's been out on bail that led up to this particular event. How many scalps has he taken? Because if you could open fire on innocent security guards, how many people did he kill between the time he got out on bail? So no. How many other robberies he probably put? Right? How many? Because for him to be willing to engage in this enterprise, he want money. Clearly what mommy sending for him is not enough for the lifestyle that he wanted to lead. And so that question must be asked. Between the time he got bail in 2022 to now, how many other crimes did he commit? How many other crimes are the police investigating that this young man and others who were probably out on bail for the same event committed? Crimes that the police should not have had to investigate, because if they had remained behind bars for murder, as they should have, if the UNC's lawyers didn't do what they did, those crimes wouldn't have been committed and the police could have been dedicating their efforts to other crimes that were committed by other miscreants. But that time had to be taken up now investigating these crimes that he committed and others committed. And you, this clown, this fully dunce, want to come and tell me stupidness about, oh, you can't blame the UNC for that. And it's the judge and the magistrate who gave them bail. And the right to apply for bail doesn't mean that you're going to get it. But we see this young man, this misguided young man, who for all intents and purposes and based on what we were told, mommy taking care of him, so thing was nice. So this narrative they like to push that poverty is the responsibility, is what causes crime. In his case, he wasn't working anyway. Clearly, mommy was taking care of him well enough that he didn't need to go and look for a job, or at least look for a legitimate job. So it wasn't poverty, right? Certainly wasn't poverty that led him to do that. But when we look at, so this is one instance. Then we saw that the mastermind behind the home invasion of the owners of Passad, the Food King, sometime last year, and he met with a similar fate, right? Where the police killed him too. He was out on bail for murder that he allegedly committed in 2009. Out on bail, and as soon as he came out on bail, what did he do? 1 month later, after he came out on bail, organized and orchestrated this heist on this elderly couple. And then we see Mrs. Passad, the sister, the other day was upset because a man was out on bail for murder, was held by the police for being in possession of a stolen vehicle. And she was upset that despite the fact he was out on bail, he come and get bail again for being in possession of a stolen vehicle. So 2 crimes he committed that he's out on bail for, and she was upset. She wasn't upset when he got bail for murder, but he got bail for being in possession of a stolen vehicle on top of being out on bail for murder. So he's out on bail now. I wonder what he's doing to earn a living. Because he can't get a certificate of character. And all legitimate businesses today want a certificate of character to make sure you don't have any charges, that you're not a criminal, and that they could trust you on their premises. So we know he can't get no clean certificate of character. So how is he earning an income? All the rest of them who get bail for murder, how they earning an income? They make sense cement? It's probably that. They're selling water on the highway, and yeah, that's how they're doing it. That's why they come in and have multiple cases before the courts for crimes they committed after coming out on bail. But this fully dunce would not accept the fact that that is a major contributor to the crime situation in this country today. That we keep reading stories about persons who are out on bail are appearing before the court again for crimes that they have committed while out on bail. So clearly, they be on reach. Crime is ingrained in them. And because they tell themselves, well, I will get bail, well, to hell with that. I ain't spending no certain time on remand, so what the heck, let me do what it is I need to do. But who funding them? Where's the money coming from for this bail? Who is willing to put out that kind of collateral? $6 million? They're asking any questions on that? No, they're not interested. Let it continue. You know why? Because then we could say Hines need to go, and Erla need to go, and Rowley need to go. And this PNM government don't know how to deal with crime, because crime out of hand. But when it is the government brings legislation to keep these men behind bars, so that is 1 or 2 or 10 less miscreants that they have to worry about out on the street committing crimes. The UNC saying we are supporting that. Bail is the right to apply for bail is a constitutional right, and we will not deny citizens their constitutional rights, because when you deny these guys bail, you end up creating single parent homes. So when the police bust bullets in their backside and they're dead, and create a single parent home, that's what you prefer? And then you have Khadija Amin coming to talk rubbish about, that the police must ensure that these men are brought to justice. Well, I am hearing, what I saw it was reported, allegedly, that individual might have had a link to one of the kidnappers. And if that is in fact so, it would explain why she has an issue with the police putting an end to their lives. I don't know. That is what I saw reported. You go on UNC Cabal page and you will see that. It is reported that she had an alleged link. I don't know. But if that is the case, it explains quite a bit. Because we saw the other day she had a situation with a man who was held with an illegal firearm last year in a bar in Tunapuna. A man who was considered the front runner to represent the UNC in one of the districts in Tunapuna. And notwithstanding the fact that this man is currently before the courts on an illegal gun possession charge, she had no problem with sitting down in a car with him and going out and drinking with him. Man with a criminal. How many other crimes was that gun used to commit? Well, you sit down in a car with a man who is before the court on a gun charge, but then again, there's no problem because you're sitting down in the parliament with a man who's on $1 million bail for fraud and misbehavior in public office, and you're sitting in parliament with another one who is currently under police investigation for human trafficking and prostitution. So you're accustomed in being in the company of criminals, so you have no problem sitting down in a car with another one. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's any veracity or truth to the claim that she may have had links to one of those men who was killed for being involved in that kidnapping matter. Right? But they have the answer to crime. Put them back in office. So you have at least one criminal sit down in the parliament who is likely to return, who is likely to be given the nod to represent that party in the 2025 election. But the man whose record is clean, you're vilifying him, raking him over the coals, want to tell him he has made no contribution to your party. And quite likely, his political career, at least in that party, has come to an end. But I see Makela Pandey is now inviting persons to come forward to be nominated to represent the Patriotic Front. And they intend to contest all 41 seats. So that is a new development that I'm certain the UNC will not be pleased with. But I haven't really seen Ms. Pandey's campaign really take off yet, but I saw a video telling people to stay tuned. So I guess she intends now to throw her hat into the political ring, and we will see what could come from that. So I imagine if Rushton Parry's slate is defeated on June 15th, we're likely to see a defection of some of those persons joining the Patriotic Front. Rather than remain in the UNC and be vilified, be called Nimakaram and all kind of thing and be accused of all manner of, well, unsavory things. So we will stay tuned for that development, all right? 7701763. Now 127. There's plenty of things to talk about and not enough time. This here. This here. Let's put this in here. Give me 1 second, Jen. Let me just connect this thing. I'll experience. One second, Jen. Sometimes this thing is coming a little bit of headache unnecessarily. So, let me try this again. There we go. Jenny. Hello.
Hi, Dominic.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, all the callers, all those who are listening to Factless 17s. Dominic, I like the idea when you spoke about in terms of campaigning, that I was thinking too that party groups
yes.
could go and lend support to other other areas, especially marginal seats and stuff like that, go out and give that support, give the strength, so that they don't feel in this alone. So I like that idea about that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that I want to touch on Tobago quickly.
Yes.
What it is Farley saying no one holding us? Because when he talked to Tobago, he talking to me, all we from Trinidad and Tobago. You remember Tasha, the tourism secretary, when she called me unwashed and uncircumcised?
Yes.
So it's like something they have in them, and them is the ones, to me, I just call them master biggest child. Because they always want to be up under the same colonial master, dress up in all the colonial master clothes. Have you seen how the Secretary of Education was just sometimes? Some big hat for no reason, and gloves and all kind of, they somehow, is a kind of cognitive dissonance with them. The same people they revile is the same people that want to be like. It's just like the union leaders. They talk about the politicians and the bourgeoisies and the life they live in, and they criticize them because of how they treat the working class. But when they are union leaders, they live in the same life as the same politicians and the same bourgeoisies and treating their members bad. So that's why I say that cognitive dissonance with those persons. But again, we will show them out, we will shine them up and let people see and make an informed decision. I see the Tobago Chamber of Tobago Division, the Hotel Association, and divers. They're now supporting the Marriott initiative.
Yes.
Because, it's a local investor who is willing to give up $500 million of their money to invest in the Marriott. And as I say that, then it lays to shame the nastiness that come up as a business, and then when they say this country, the economy is bad, and Dr. Roger go sign, and the other person. Because clearly, this local company is going to put up $500 million in investment to a hotel in Tobago. And just recently, we see Ansel McCall, who would have shown that they would have made so much profit last year. They are investing $200 million in Line 7 at Caribbean, the Butlin Woods, the Butlermore, Caribbean stuff. So where are these people getting those type of money to invest in? It clearly cannot be from an economy that is not doing well. But I move on. So as I was saying, the Chamber of Tobago Division, Hotel Association, and the divers is supporting the Marriott because here what they say now, they miss out on scandals because of negative publicity. They miss out on the Bonaccord Estate for people who wanted to do some projects here, and then they lost out on the marina. And I want to ask them if they was under a rock all the time. Because when scandal was being given this bad press, I didn't see the hotelers, I didn't see the divers or the Chamber of Tobago Commerce or whatever it is come out and advise Tobago people to take on Farley and Juke and them. I didn't see that. We didn't see when they was talking all the other projects, they was silent. But now it started to jam them, why? Because investment, they ain't getting tourism, they ain't making money. And they realize Farley, and then if they continue supporting Farley and them, they'll be going down a road where they'll be out of business. All of a sudden now, they want the Marriott and they want to make sure everything is done properly, but we must have that investment coming. It's good for some all in Tobago who continue not to speak out. It's only when it's hitting in your pocket, that is when the voices come out. And finally, I would just want to touch on the Auditor General office. There was a case before the Equal Opportunity Commission where one of the, I won't call the name, one of the employees there would have taken to the Equal Opportunity Commission a case of racism and victimization against him because of his race when it comes to promotion. Because we were promoting people of another race who were junior to him, above him in the position. And they were giving him a bad appraisal that he had to go and get overturned. It seemed to me, in a concerted effort to keep him down because he was an African person. And what happened, he won that case. And he was able to prove that victimization and racism had a part to play in how he was treated at the Auditor General. He won that case. So when we look and see what's happening here, we had to watch this thing careful. Is it a situation where there's a lot of victimization and racism against people of African descent in the Auditor General office, where they're not getting the people who qualify, have the qualification, have the experience, and have the know-how to do the work, and people of substandard qualification or experience are being promoted because of their race. That is real, and I'll tell you quickly what it is. One of the complaints that you would have put out that the commission was in agreement with, it said the complainant, in making out his case, also cited he and another person, I put Indian descent, I don't want to put the person name, had comparable staff appraisal at the level of the assistant auditor director. But that person of Indian descent was recommended to act instead of him. Another case he put out when a person of Indian descent proceeded on vacation, well, they put the name, I just put Indian descent. He was not chosen to act as the person in that position. However, a person who junior to him of an Indian descent was put to hold on to the person who went on vacation. So those things are real. It is a case there. They could challenge me if they want. It is real. So I have to go with this judgment, and this judgment was done by Judge, just a minute, by Judge, His Honor, Mr. Joseph, who was the judge and chairman of the Equal Opportunity Tribunal. Because when I talk, I don't want them to come and say being racist. A case was made out of racism and victimization against an African man in the Auditor General Department when they were favoring people of Indian descent over him who were junior to him. These things are real and happening. So when I hear Anna Robertson talking the Gubara, and when I hear some of them talking the Gubara about PNM being racist, and PNM gave every opportunity, every race opportunity in this country, and they have all benefited from all the opportunities since under Dr. Eric Williams to now. That has been PNM government policy and initiative. So it is unfair. Very, very unfair. In this case, I'm talking what happened between 2012 around there. Who was in office back then? Dominic? Wasn't come up as a assessor?
Correct.
Okay. And if that level of racism was put towards a person of African descent in favor of a person of Indian descent in one case, what again did they do between 2010 to 2015? I just asking. So when we see the behavior of the current Auditor General, it makes us go, something in the more than the person could be. I don't know. So make you have a blessed one, and everyone who's listening have a blessed one.
Thank you, Jen. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Hello. Let's try that again. Make sure what's going on with this thing today. Yes. Right, we connected. Hello, good afternoon.
Dominic,
Oh, Lord Father. Yes, sir.
what's going on?
All is well. I am good.
Okay, boy. Dominic, I hear you talk about Stuart Young going and support the PNM in the by-election. Dominic, remember I told you there was a by-election back in the days, Sawamba Ataria. And before that election, about a week or two before that election, Stuart Young said how there are people in the PNM who's trying to undermine he and Dr. Rowley. And PNM come and they lost that elections. You know what was sad, Dominic?
What is it?
Dr. Rowley came after Stuart Young. After Stuart Young. And Dr. Rowley said, now is no time for fighting on the executive. Dominic, why are people on the executive trying to undermine Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young?
How long ago was that?
Why only the both of them alone, Dominic?
How long ago was that?
Why?
How long ago was
I
that?
know all you want to carry Stuart Young down south.
How long ago was that? We have a new executive
Go
that
back
was
and check
elected.
go back and check the records.
Yeah, but
Dominic,
we have a new executive.
I know all you want to get.
A new executive was elected in 2022. You forget that? Now, unless you're talking about after 2022, is not the same people. We have a new executive. So you lose me there. You can't tell me members of the executive when you have a new executive.
Oh, so that's why he dissolved the executive.
He didn't dissolve. We had an election. Anybody who wanted to be the elections would do. Anybody, you forget I ran for a seat too. I went up for a position too. You forget that? It was open to anybody.
All right.
And the membership voted for who they wanted.
All you carry Stuart Young down south,
Mm-hmm.
and all you're going to see what will happen.
What will happen?
I will leave it there.
What will happen? Hello, good afternoon. That's hold 1 second. Let me just, I don't know why this is not. Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, what happened? How things?
Hey, boss, I good.
That's right. You see, yes, sir. British deal.
You're breaking up a little bit, Colin. And we want to hear your contribution. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're breaking up a bit.
Oh, I know it's that. Yeah. What I was saying now.
Mm-hmm.
The connection of the crime situation, with having access to bail and so on, championed by the NCSP.
Yes.
Me and anybody thinking personally with the independence and you know, suffice support either side. There's enough. If that link thing is important, and crime remains a central issue for them. They're trying to be the character of Mr. Hines. When you hang there, they are able to stand on that the government is left, corrupt, able to manage the country. It's only have the last 8 years and a bit. It's not. So that we want people to. My young son, already, and he's already on his center for. He's looking to. He said to me, I, as a young person, who has my interest at heart for the programs out there to develop persons like myself. The man done make up already.
Nice.
When you spoke about, and you know, another thing that people must understand. When someone is out on bail or when they are charged, apply for a certificate of character. What to them is that once they are mad, you will not be able to get a certificate of character. That is because once you have of your character, noted in red all that you were convicted, the concurrent years and so on. Right? All you will be able to get, this is what they actually need. They will get an antecedent form, which will show all their assets. What's up within the system you cannot get. So for me, it whole situation with the millions also is one thing that I think that the government And then as a black spot against them, I was why I say this. The government was in campaign legislation, has not been done. Still, if among these billion tax defaulters who owe the government, there are some political party, if those contributors, their money should be refused. And a strong piece of legislation would have enabled the government to do that. People, they should be named and shamed. But it's supposed to be that these people have a government of integrity and being good citizens, according to Pharaoh's Calypso. You will want to know these persons. So I am saying that I hope that this is our government to take this on board and say, listen, we cannot our financier of our party to attack. So when I think about 15 billion being owed, I think about what is the deficit and what the amount of cash coming into the system to do for the and for the citizens in general. When I think about what could be done to before things like the aid, the coffers of the NIB, so have access to other compensation from the NIB and so on, pensioners and people and so on who would have get injured and that kind of thing, and able to. I would think that time to show for these good citizens, imagine, so the two men named, right?
Right.
One of them is very vocal about the ease of doing business and so on and so forth. For 20 of the last 21 years, you have not paid your taxes. Yes, what go down there that your business is flourishing. Because you're getting certain amount of rents from your tenants there every month. You have no all that Ferris wheel in addition to the merry-go-round you had, which would indicate to me that it's profitable. And if you are not paying your tax, and yes, it suggests that you would not be in NIB workers at the various entities that you own and so on. Why a robust and functioning revenue authority is important. When all arms of revenue collectors and then it's important for us to have a lockdown these structures. Because my time in a taxpayer, had my salary garnished with the government, and I did it willingly. I went no pay land revenue, collected the requisite form, into my employer, signed it, and I paid off my tax on to the government. If the BIR could have done that for me, then the system for people who owe millions would be much more robust. And I hope that people can see the value of a functioning revenue authority and what it would mean for these as judges going forward. Yes, as I get better with the great program, you know, I try to intervene when I could because of like we discussed earlier what's going on with me.
Yes.
Yes.
You too, sir. No problem. Hello, good afternoon.
How are you, darling?
I am good.
Let me pray first. Thank you, Father God, for today. Looking above ground, Father. God, I bless each person on your life. God, I bless each person, Father, who call in and who come in fast. Amen. Just amen. Darling, something. People can rice and rodent could make money when you become tenants. You can have a gym, barbers, restaurants, and call for weddings. There's Arnell Roberts who's civic-minded, and he will feed you on the land because you have developed your land. A city that's well developed will have income coming in. I have a question now. When Campbell said State Master's name, where were you? And who were you? And black man. I mean, where were you for that? Is that racism? Were you missing in action? Did his son dry until the last grade cell? When you had the campaign for this election 2 years ago, when you don't see when the ground eating grass by Dustin, what was that animal? Is that racism? When you use mass slavery as a whip against every African person, when it's set with wages by Kapler, I have ancestors' name. What was that animal you acquired? And Anna is a surefire way so the UNC will never get power. I really criticize this Indian man, right? They're trying to do President Maduro. You see now, if this falls apart, look what Rowdy do. He's so evil. The man from India didn't want to come here. Rowdy blight. Damn if you do, damn if you do. Khadija Amin, that's a question now. What are you about? Because your ex hiding a firearm. You cannot condemn something when you're part of it. UNC means United National Criminals. And the UNC is including is a ship that has sunk to the bottom of no return. Don't be blessed. Everybody have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you. As the previous caller was speaking, something occurred to me, right? Now I recall reading an article, I think it was sometime last year, where a former employee of the Board of Inland Revenue was fired and he was charged for issuing false tax clearance certificates to a certain individual who was arrested in Barbados. Certain gentleman who deals in gun licenses. Well, he sells guns and so on, right? You all know the individual. Apparently, the BR employee used to be collecting money to issue false or fraudulent tax clearance certificates. Now, my understanding about tax clearance certificate is that when you're applying for certain government contracts or certain licenses and so on, you need to have these tax clearance certificates showing that your taxes are up to date. I have a question to all of these people who are owing the government millions of dollars in taxes, in some cases between the last 15 to 20 years. In particular, one of the individuals who was named, you would recall that between 2010 to 2015, he bid for a piece of land at the back of down by Invaders Bay, and the government was inclined to give it to him. And then, because the GCC took them to court to get the legal opinion that informed the decision to give the land to this individual and a whole back another side. What about the tax clearance certificates that was required by this individual to bid on these things? What about the radio licenses and so on? What about tax clearance certificates for that and all of that? How were they able to get these things if the taxes weren't in order? Food for thought. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, you get it, Dominic?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. A good thing again, Dominic, but sometimes you have to dedicate some time into see that tax thing.
Yes.
And how the revenue authority already started to bear fruit.
Correct. Yes.
So you can't tell me a man win $90-something million in back taxes. Well, that was penalty. You'll have to answer that. But the thing is that he wasn't paid.
Correct.
And where he has his big business, the government gave him that place. But it was at the cost of this guy and the Spectrum, because that was the name of the property had the basically carnival fest, you know.
Correct. Yes.
And we quarreled, but we didn't raise enough points because it was African culture, and that was one of the main arguments on why the government would have given the land to him. And he is not paid. So if you reckon up about $90-something billion in back taxes, that means that money that you know that you have to give to the government, you have that. So you can afford to do all kind of thing with it. And reinvest that money and make real money. So when that time comes and you have to pay, you have no problem in paying it, but you would have done triple that money already with any time. You understand how it works? You see why white collar criminals does prosper in this country?
Yep.
And the only avenue that they can actually get a white collar criminal, because you won't be able to get those who bring in the drugs into Trinidad and passing it through and going there. You won't get them because remember that those people don't be around. They won't be there to make sure how things move and pass it and this one and whoever custom get bribe and this police officer get bribe and that money and thing and that. Oh, they're nothing that you won't get them. Nobody could point a finger at them allowed. But they are the ones who facilitate in the process.
Correct.
And they have their friends in the parliament. That is how hard it is. But the only quick and easiest avenue of going behind white-collar criminals is the taxes. Because at the end of the day, they're doing it for money. And they need to explain whether they get it. And that is where you deal with white-collar criminals. So when you hear people telling you about tax and this government doesn't need a tax government and tax, watch them. Watch them good, because let me tell you something. The poor people who know nothing to worry about that. Because if you're working for $7,000 something a month,
yes,
you don't have to have a ceiling. You don't have to pay tax. No PAYE. So you have that money, how can it? You don't own no property, you worrying about property tax. So, but check all of them who are thinking. Remember, Kamala tell us that she Manning thing at the property, all kind of thing, and they suspended Manning for the parliament when Manning came with the picture and the great mark, the speaker of the house telling me cash for the picture in the house and things. Because Manning was asking questions because in the opposition now. He wants to know how did Kamala Prasad come about that. And before he could go through everything and full dealing to think they shut him down. So and Kamala Prasad said, we are wish fast, but one thing I pick up in it too. She was saying that Manning wanted to think about she property because everything was hers. And fast forward today, what it was, she just in parliament and said that she had no property. Where the property gone? You understand? I think because they're running from the taxes. How did Kamala Prasad be set against that kind of money to build it? Nobody said Kamala can build out. I don't think I build houses. But not that kind of money, that kind of thing there. And then we have this thing about the Lala guy who hiding in Panama, who was a favorite contractor of the UNC, and he seems to have a very good relationship with Kamala Prasad because as much as he tried to hide it, it's public knowledge that he built Kamala House. What was your arrangement went through with that? Because if they only ask me about this guy, the Elias guy, and the building of Dr. Rowley's house in Tobago. Well, we saw where that went. They put so much of thing into the domain. And what came out of it, after that was information, when Dr. Rowley had to come and ask and get to his lawyer to explain, because you all go on and already find the man guilty and all those things, because they set up everything as they did with Franklin Kahn and Eric Williams, that what was calling that board was they more or less will investigate politicians and because that is
Integrity Commission.
A whole board had to resign.
Integrity
Why
Commission.
did they resign? Because they saw what they do. Blatant error. One piece of document Dr. Rowley threw his lawyers and then put inside and took for them to peruse it. And when they see all the answers were there, but Dr. Rowley is a smart fellow, very intelligent, and he knew the demographics of the politics in Trinidad and Tobago. So he allowed them to go and do whatever to do, and just saw his name to tell Morgan quiet. When it's time for them to come and make the final judgment, he come and through his lawyer to come and provide, because he was waiting for them to come and ask him a question, which they didn't fail to do that. And he had to put it through, and the whole thing happened that day, because question was this. So we know about Dr. Rowley's house. We know everything about Dr. Rowley. Because what they didn't say about Kamala, the makeup thing I say about Kamala and about Dr. Rowley in the parliament, where they talk about his deceased parents, which is very disgusting, and they want to regurgitate that. But we know how these people operate. So if we know how they operate, what do we expect from them? When you translate to what happened transpire right now in the Auditor General, I will tell people, I don't know of any auditing firm, Pricewaterhouse, all them thing and them thing, all them thing and them. I don't know of any auditor when they're auditing you and you come and tell them, look, I have some information here on some accounting statement of some amendment. They want to ask you, they want to see it. They're grabbing it, they ain't telling them nothing, they go think they're going to peruse it. And if they find there was something kind of issue with that, they will make a report on it. When they tell about the amendment, the public servants, one came and tell about the amendment, she refused to take it. So the Treasury and Finance Ministry, and it comes to explain to her, she failed to meet with them. She do everything in her power at the time not to think with it. Until she gets whatever advice you would get to come and receive it. No, you come and receive it and you have it in anything. Why did you receive it in the first place? And then I'm asking myself, why would you take corruption accused and Ramlogan law firm together with a sitting senator to advise you on a matter such like this against the state? What was their expectation? What was their intent? And when you ask that from somebody who is in that position, because she is not like a financial director or something like that, she's an auditor. I don't know where she gets so personally involved in anything. Her job as an auditor is to peruse these things to ensure that the government and taxes are up to date. That's what auditor really doing. Auditor is really to go through your books and make sure the taxes are paid. And the checks and balances are there. One is two. You know, words and figures do not lie. So what the words and figures are the same thing. That is why they can't find out a thing like that. They're trying and they're looking for everything. And listen to is the Guardian with Akash Samaru one thing did a little article there and totally misleading. And what they're saying, and I was saying, they could write how much you want to kind of put thought in the minds of the people, but what she has done, she has proven that she's very incompetent. She's boring heavy on political. So I think the best thing, and I said it already, if I was her, I would have sent her a resignation or asked to be transferred because basically something has to be done about her. I can't see her going forward dealing with matters with the state, nothing like that again. She has compromised herself. She has compromised her position. So even though she don't want to move from the position, there are ways and things on how to transfer out of that department and protect some other ministry to work. Or if she wants to take a package and go home and then join the UNC collection coming up just now, go and put yourself a safe seat in the UNC because you totally open up yourself for that kind of thing because that's the reason why it's very hard to attract the right people to do jobs in the state boards. And before I go, I'm glad we're dealing with it there. Is that I was always explained to you. Leave it there, we'll talk about something that happens thing and he'll put his own facts and come and tell you go and research it. But it's a lie. So you have to go and research a lie. You go find out, but however, based on what he said, just like it's just Darren Marcel they said, he is talking about two different things. Because when Sergio would have made that, it was in the last before the last election, and that people inside it, like the Karen Mariano, all of them have positions still in the PNM executive of this. When Dr. Rory Corbett knew how to kick out their cousin because of sabotaging, as earlier I remember Dr. Rory offering Mariano a job on a state board because he was really doing any talking about all this will happen. His forecast for Trinidad back in 2015, if his good forecast had come to pass, see what would have happened. We'd have devalued the dollar, right? We would have given back Clico to we name it again. The man who put Clico in our mess and policy holders are them in real trouble. Dupre, he'd have given back Dupre that. And he would have gone to the IMF. That was the forecast of Mariano Brown, a former PNM finance minister, but he was a junior finance minister, and the same Karen Teixeira, who was the minister, so he's working under them. Them is what was telling you that. And them can work with this administration of the PNM, even as they were offered position to come and you help. Just to say that, come and help me. You said that in your program. Mariano Brown said that in his program, that I was offered a position on a state board and I turned it down. But if you're not up there and you think you saying all that sort of thing, you think this. So when you see Livia come with this nonsense and try to twist what actually the events that happened and try to turn it, twist it and bring it wrong, come back and push it in your face and come and drop a little stupidness and tell you, well, go and look and you research that. Actually, you had enough knowledge then to deal with it on the spot, because that is what transpired what you said then. So when you talk about stewardship and all these things, these employers are telling us that they are PNM and sabotaging the administration because of their preference to a leader that has, you see, gone. He could not be man named right through. Sometimes I feel sorry for the family of the man. But this man keep doing that. But anyhow, Dominic, we have to go take a serious look into the taxes and how the taxes will benefit poor people. Because if the government had that kind of money, you're talking 90-something, next one is $50-something billion in their coffers. You know what thing they could do with it? And when you streamline that, there are other things that in the revenue and telling me about. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of leakage in revenues that the government does lose every year. And I've been hearing that from the so-called authority in the economy and all kinds of things, all these professor, this and professor. They talk about that many times, and now we're losing a lot of taxes through, not the business people fault, but the government fault. But if you don't push to get taxes, it's really not the business people fault, but there's a limit between that. If you know you have to pay taxes, it's just like the poor man. They tell you, listen, don't break the light by hurry. I want to go to work, I late for work, I break the light. Who fault it? Is the government fault? When I have to go and pay the ticket out of the mail funds, the government too wicked, look how much money I have to pay, I only working for this amount. And look all the tickets are there, that I my salary on there already. So I losing there and I call it. So whose fault really it is? And that is what we're talking about. Pay your taxes. These people are prominent business people and they're talking about things and the government giving you property, giving you tax concessions. You're getting all kind of things from the government. The government is trying to stimulate you so you can invest your money. And instead of doing it, you're ripping up the treasury through tax evasion. And we have to get serious for that. And I think they need to revise the law and put stiffer penalties for what these people do. Because they saw that loophole years ago and they used it to their advantage. So for them to pay that money now, they would have to make about 3-4 times the amount already between that time. So it would be easy for them to fork out that money and pay that and take a little slap on the wrist and that is coming in revenue. But things are changing now. Dominic and the country, this government is now coming with the time. So we deal with white collar crimes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good afternoon. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
You have the wrong number.
Yeah. Who are you trying to reach?
Hello.
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 All right. Yes. Thank you for you. Hi. Good afternoon. Which one is it? Omar?
Thank you.
I haven't called in a while.
Yes.
Listen. The people seem to be missing. The PNM is a national party.
Yes.
It's not based on race. It is a national party and it has been from inception. It's all inclusive. The United National Congress is an Indian party. They identify themselves as an Indian party. I have a problem with that. But Indians are supposed to be in India. Okay, so I cannot vote for an Indian party to run my country. It's like me voting for a Venezuelan. It doesn't make sense. That's one. Two, the UNC seems to be a criminal enterprise operating as a national, as a party, as a political party. right? And people need to sit down and watch that. There are too many questions, too many questionable people sitting there in that party with a lot of things to answer, a lot of crimes being committed. It's out there. It's not hidden. And they always look for the lowest common denominator to put it front. And I will bring on. Okay? He was in charge of a ministry, hundreds of millions of dollars went missing. He disappeared of the Caribbean trying to keep safe, and then he came back up, and once again he's in front. If you love your country, any right-taking person, you can't really vote for this dispensation. I don't have to agree with your politics and the way, but at some point you have to recognize when it's not making sense. Yes, a lot of things need to change.
Indeed.
My other big question, because last year when the Wanty and the other one went and they overturned where you could now get bail, and I found it very curious that I have lived here all my life. I did not know where Mr. Prasad became lived, and I've lived here all my life. I used to be down in prison, so I don't know the place. But somebody who was in jail for how much? Over a decade, to find the amount of getting bail. Right? And what made it even more curious to me, and this is just to me, was that there was a whole talk that he was no longer supporting the UNC. Right? We need to look at that. How did they get bail? How can you be out on $600,000 bail after you're in jail for years? You come out and you commit a crime. If you commit a crime when you're on bail, isn't your bail forfeit?
It should be.
You're paying it. These are questions that for me we need to do. At the point that you are out on 600,000, 1 point what million, whatever, and they hold you for something else, how do you get it in the first place? Because some money is paying somewhere. These lawyers, Wanty and all of these, they always have high-profile lawyers of a certain race. They're paying them. The gentleman who I understand got killed last week.
Yes.
His mother was away, and they hanged him out right because black people have no money.
Yes.
But we could afford even a 10% of 600,000 is a sizable amount. The house was put up. How did it done? And if something is like that, all the bill is supposed to be immediately payable. So that is also another criminal enterprise as far as I am concerned that is running and that needs to be investigated. Sadly, we don't have the caliber of reporters that actually do that work, because you could, if you watch the television or you even listen to some of the radio stations, you realize everybody is aside. Okay?
Yes.
And it's all about letting people in. It's not about the right thing. I am glad that you do. And certain portions of I-95, if something is wrong, good, bad, or indifferent, you will call it. As a Trinidadian, I am free to agree and disagree, and that is one thing I love. I was a child with Eric Williams. All I do. Okay? And you're free to agree and disagree, but knowledge is power. We need to start letting our common sense come back to the forefront and watch the nonsense and call it as we see it. Okay, there are a lot of things that's going wrong.
Agreed.
And this administration is trying to fix it. You might think it's not fast, because this whole thing with the 93 million and Chinese world, it is how much million? And as normal, the PNM government. Yeah, but they've been trying to put things in place, and they're getting fired out from it in the same inland revenue. They're getting fired out from the union, they're getting fired out from everywhere, but God is good. Right? Family will never come back. I will say that every time. If we never to come back, this country is going through a rough patch, but those who love the country and who know what is right will continue to stand, and we will push through and ensure that the right people reach where they're supposed to be. Okay? You have a good day. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Glo. That caller reminded me of something too that I wanted to just mention quickly, right? When I was listening to I-95, Friday morning. I don't normally leave home early enough to hear them. But I heard Dale and Tony were talking about this same issue with the taxes and people owing the taxes, right? And Dale made a comment to Tony about that's why the Chinese people owing taxes or something like that. And Tony Lee said, so what happened? So other people not owing taxes too, the Indians not owing taxes and the Africans and so on. And I didn't find it funny that Dale would make the comment that Africans don't know about taxes, so don't go there. Right? So apparently Africans don't make enough money to pay taxes. Everybody else making money. But he find that was funny to tell Tony, Africans don't know nothing about taxes, so basically don't include them. Right? A word to the wise is sufficient. Brian.
That is why I have always asked the question, when you look at me, what do you see? I have always asked that question. People are yet to answer. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Rumi.
Good afternoon, sir.
Your listeners and callers. Because there is this, people may use the word perception, but I feel it has gone past that. That when you see an African man in business, is either he's a thief or he's working for somebody else. He could never own his own. And when I heard that on Friday, I just shook my head. Because when you have a talk show, a major talk show host who was also indicated that he is a representative of MAT, making that statement to the national community, and he is of African descent, and he made it a statement more than once.
Yes.
And he made it with a sense of conviction. Yes? So therefore, when you look at me, what do you see? And therein lies some of the major problems in society. Because when these two gentlemen it was made known to us how much money they were owing the coffers of the country, there were many people who came into their defense, including Rushton Paré, that will affect the economy of the country.
Yes.
If you recall. So even in other words, what he is saying is that, hey, don't mind them owing money, leave them alone, because it will affect the economy. Since when? People in America run from the IRS. Why? But in Trinidad and Tobago, if you're big and you're bad and you have not of African descent and you're owing the coffers of the country, leave you be. And that's why I have to listen to a certain individual in downtown, saying, don't bring back the wrecker in town because it's only poor people parking. And it will affect them. And it will affect business. But you open up a big warehouse or a big business in Barataria. I wonder how you get it. So in other words, that allow the lawlessness to continue. Don't stop it. Because there's a way for people to make money. And I asked you the other day in private, Dominic, how come, how does this, what you call it, this bail thing works? Because when you have people could get bail who work nowhere, and people could afford to stand the bail for these heinous crimes, and nobody is saying that. When your Honorable Prime Minister said in Tobago just last week that this is big business for the bailer, for the lawyer, for the judiciary apparently. I don't know. I am asking, is that a fact? Is this really big business? So everybody, no matter what you do, you're entitled to bail because you have rights. Don't mind who you kill. Don't mind who you murder. Don't mind what you do. And if it is that is the case, give everybody guns. So therein lies the issue. Give everybody bail but at the same time give everybody guns. So what are we going to have? High chaparral in Trinidad and Tobago. And nobody is going to want to come to Trinidad and Tobago. You understand? So when we're talking about tourism and diversification and so on, throw that out the door. Dominic, I told you when I spoke to you last time on this program that Mr. Albani, you see, when you don't want nothing good for the East-West corridor, you will say anything and everything. Because you see, Dominic, there are young men like Tyrone Pollard, Sunil Narayan, and Nicholas Puran, and many others who have made their money through the IPL. I told you this. And I knew there was going to be heavy backlash, especially from ANL, because they don't want nothing good for the East-West corridor. I keep saying that. Nobody countries about the East-West corridor. Because a lot of the cricketers, they have them from Central go down to Deep South, from like Power Gen and Clark Road and so on. But for the East-West corridor, where people with useful benefit, they will have something to learn, something to do. Money will be invested in the country. Because Dr. Rowley did it. And do you know people up and down the CARICOM, what I got to understand, are really, 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 really not happy simply because they wish it was done in their country? Mm-hmm. Do you know that America wants the same thing? I got to understand because of what they are saying is that we have more people.
Yes.
We'll give you a bigger crowd. You will make money. The investment will be good for America. This is what they did to football. Now we have to go and get scholarship to go and play football in America. What do you think will happen with cricket in the next 10 years? If that was supposed to happen in America, we got to get scholarship to go and play cricket where? In America. But I said that is why I called Dr. Rowley a pioneer with this, simply because it will benefit Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean by extension. And he being the head of this cricket responsible for what happens with cricket in the Caribbean, it was really, really good of him. It showed leadership, it showed vision for him to ensure that he came back here with something concrete, which will bear fruit in Trinidad and Tobago. So when he gave the land, he ain't giving away the land free, because that's the impression Adil and them want to give. That they're getting the land free, they ain't getting it free. It comes with conditions. Yes? And at the end of the day, the beneficiaries will be Trinidad and Tobago. But you're hearing that from them. You're hearing the race being put forward. We who love cricket is only for Indian people, cricket is for all of us. The technological advances that will come to Trinidad and Tobago first, we'll be able to extend it to CARICOM. And the wire this point, they will go to America. People from America will want to come here. We're talking about sports tourism. They'll want to come to Trinidad and Tobago to learn and to play cricket. We will benefit directly. But they don't want that. Benefit directly. But they don't want that. No, they don't want that. They ain't talking about the benefits that you're going to get from Ghana and natural gas and so on. They ain't talking about that. They're not talking about Ghana being the gateway to the other countries of Africa where we will benefit and the Caribbean will benefit. They ain't talking about these things. That don't matter to them, but they don't matter to them. Albani. You know why? Because they want to push the race card. And there are people falling for it. People spreading the propaganda. Because that is the diatribe and that is the diet that they have been fed for all this time, and it continues. And I want to tell Rushton Parry and his team, in April 15th and 16th, your good friend Dennis from Bali and Fufu One indicated
that all you wasted all your time because them ballot boxes are coming empty. So don't waste all your time, and then even what name Duppy said so later on in the week. So don't waste all your time, and when you know only wasting all your time, at the end of the day, only will be out. Because Pushwati ain't taking that. You understand? So only could come and fight all you want unless only could get the amount of votes and get certain people inside there to ensure that those votes are properly counted. And that the ballot box is empty. Then and only then. But Kamala not going to give up the fight because she has people to protect and people whose corrupt lives and who before the court she has to save. And them worth more to her than all you. So the 15th will come around shortly and we will see. And only to understand where Bali grows. So you invited her to come and meet with you and talk to you and see how you see who you're in your party, in your United Front. And she throw a little dig at Makela Pandey. Because when she said that name sounds familiar to her.
Yes.
She tried to dig at them.
Fledgling party. Fledgling party with that name.
Exactly. So that is where all you line up. So if you want to believe, when we just win, or when we just say, I've got some of the talk that, all you've done gone through already. Take that in all your pipe and smoke it. Dominic, have a good afternoon.
You too, sir. One last one, and then that's it for the afternoon. And we're already past 2 o'clock. Hello, good afternoon.
Dominic.
Lord Father. Leave it there.
You know I don't like the call twice.
Really? All right.
Dominic, from 2015, was Mariano Brown or Karen Nunes Oshara on the executive of the PNM?
Not that I'm aware of.
But he come talking nonsense. Dominic, I will leave it there.
All right, leave it. Well, I wish you would identify who are these persons you say Stuart Chung would have identified as trying to undermine him and Dr. Rowley. But anyway, that is not of importance. There are 2 by-elections to fight. The PNM, as we know, contests all elections, win, lose, or draw. We always put up a candidate regardless of what the odds may appear to be. I believe that they have in both of these districts sufficient PNM persons to be able to win the election. So, I'm going to just take Eric and then last call.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, good afternoon to you, Mr. Roman. Good afternoon to the listeners and the viewers of the Bunkin Facts Are Stubborn Things on this Sunday afternoon. You know, I had to be the last call. I don't know why, but we had to continue this one.
You're late.
I'm brain, so.
You're late.
But anyway, let me take this opportunity to say thank you again, Mr. Roman, for the timeless and the. I know it tends to be a bit strenuous, but you know, we gotta do what we gotta do, right? And I just want to touch on this Auditor General Bacchanal that this Guardian published this morning about some allegations the general making about the government spent X, Y, and Z money, and she make reports in his station and so forth and so forth. So it means to say that these people happen on this. So they mean to say that they want this to stick in the minds of the people in the country. Even though that the Minister of Finance would have come out and said such and such. So you see, Dominic, they are hell-bent on causing problems in the country once they cannot get into office. So they mean to say they rather mash up and destroy the country, have no relation with no other country in the world for their political agenda. But as I say, I always saying, let Trin Begonian play loose and fast so the vote come next year.
and see all these bilateral and trade relations that Dr. Rowley is fighting to put the country on a world map. You think they're going to come and continue with all these programs and these relations? Right now, them iron, Dominic, right now, the treasury have money. So that's what bothering them. They see that 2.6 billion and now it's 3.3. Right now, they ain't how much money they say listen. Because I earn 2.6 million one way, I earn 3.3 billion one way. So I know. But as I will continuously say, they are doing that so when they get there, which I know they wouldn't, they don't have plans for that money. So that's why they lay in up front, it's missing. So when they get in there, don't say that being one already before. So they give you things in front before they actually do it. And I must say to Kingsley, go to the head of the class. You give the listening population a warning up front of what is likely to happen. God forbid that these people assume office. You understand? So let me every time we go see. And Dominic, I will say with that thing, that campaigning down in Indian Walk and Mon Diablo. Right? So you know when how things just go. They say the word and run over trooper, you go down there.
Put in the chat. Let the boss see it.
All right, I will do that. And then I know one or two of the followers on the page might want to jump on board, you know. Right, so if you all want to thing, you all can give me a shout. Right? No, I don't really give my number. Call Dominic.
Call 770-1763.
Right? Or you can call me on 797-7980 and we can able to organize what we can to be done. Right? 7997-7980. Right? Good program, Dominic, and let me say the Judicial for the blessed and productive week. And it's a short week. So only be safe. Good program.
Yes. Right. It is now 2:30. Let me just take this last one quickly here. Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, Dominic, good afternoon.
Yes,
I'm going to put in this meeting with one thing. When Patrick Manning's last state as Prime Minister was in 2010, going forward from there, they'll have this slate, the Dr. Roy would have a slate, and then they would have called like the internal election. Right, that the Manning slate, that the Dr. Rowley slate.
Right.
And everybody will put themselves up for a thing, and going forward, they're doing it. So I don't know what notice this man talking about. He went just right back to 2015 and talked about 2015.
Yes.
But the fight against Dr. Rowley was since 2010. And that is why we're telling you, leave it there. That it's time for you to let go that nonsense. You think that and them things dead and gone. Patrick Manning ain't coming back. No way he coming back. It's still happening. It's slate internal election for the PNM will come up, and they will have this slate. These people still there. Only Karen's function party, and automatically that means that she's out. Because at the time when she was campaigning against Dr. Rowley, only thing is that when that is the internal just recently, and she come with her slate, and then she started go to the court to say that the constitution of the PNM was and the code is boosted because she was making no sense. Why were we talking about all this just interrupt everything? All this still fighting for Manning as if all they go wrong in the cemetery and dig up Manning and put him there as Prime Minister. Come on, I'll leave it there. Just lie himself now.
Folks, thank you all so much for joining me today for staying where we have stayed on until now. Nobody would say we're supposed to be till 1, but these days we go until 2:30 and 3 o'clock. And the because there's lots of stuff to talk about, right? So yeah, it's a short week. We have 2 holidays, Thursday and Friday. So we have 3 days to make it productive, and you could make the 2 days productive too as well. Right? So for those of us who would be celebrating whichever day and whatever year would be observing, commemorating, do it in in moderation, as we say. But it's an opportunity to assist those guys, those two candidates down on that side with their campaign to ensure as far as possible, if we win or even if we don't win, that the margin of victory, should the other side win, would be very, very small. So they can't have no bragging rights and so on. It's time to turn some of their seats marginal, like they claim to boast that they turn in PNM seats marginal. I see the leader of the opposition shamelessly put up on her Facebook page, to the front page of today's Express, Kamala rejects Parry. Right? So she's proud to let the world know that she has rejected Mr. Parry. So any idea of any rapprochement, any idea of any of them coming together and mending fences, I think not going to happen. Right? Because by her doing these things, she's sowing the seeds of discord within her party for persons who are partial to her to hate Parry and his slate, simply because they called for internal elections as the party's constitution requires. So it's going to be an interest, a long hot summer, as they say. As I say, Michaela has now thrown her hat in the ring. Let us see what comes out of that with respect to these folks. If they don't win on the 15th, whether or not persons are going to jump ship and join the Pandey ship. But we will be right here to discuss it. All right, so then I see, well, they're trying to disparage Larry Lala. Lala does look failing. So they pull out a picture with him and Paris and put it up and kick out the PNM to say he's a traitor. But anyway, we don't have that in the PNM. We don't do them things. They could say what they want, but the PNM, we are a civilized party. Everybody who wants to contest an election is free so to do. And our membership don't need to call on the leadership of the party to call elections when they are constitutionally due. It is held. We don't have those issues, right? We don't have those issues. And when the PNM has its internal election, the bacchanal that they have, even when we had Tishera and whoever else contesting, that no bacchanal, she say her things about Dr. Rowley and he paid her no mind. And today, where is she? So enjoy the rest of this very warm, hot Sunday. Still hoping for the rain that the Met Office said we were going to get yesterday, into today, and to tomorrow, but they have officially declared the start of the rainy season, albeit the amount of rain that we would normally have gotten at the start, we haven't gotten yet. But all of the international weather agencies are predicting a very active hurricane season, and they're telling us to brace for some extreme weather in terms of rain, and up in the north, tornadoes and thunderstorms and hurricanes and all of these different things. So let's get our act together. From one extreme, we're heading from El Nino into La Nina. So yeah, bye. Folks, thank you all so much. And Mario is saying elections 2025 will be based on the nation's economic survival. That is correct, Mario. Which party you want to have the reins of the treasury for the next 5 years? We know one wants to teeth it out, and the other one wants to do their best to try and replenish it and keep as much in there as possible while treating with the issues relevant to the citizen. So, yeah, Pearl says the tropical wave just waved and left. That's exactly what it did. Cool. Probably say, I'm coming back just now. Hold on. I just get a little something. But we'll see how that goes. Thank you for my brooms, Roxanne. Well, that's what they said. They said you were supposed to get some rain yesterday. When I saw all those dark clouds, I was happy. And then nothing on this side. But I saw rain fell in Port Spain. Parliament people were happy. The farmers up in Parliament were happy to get that little blessing. Yeah. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday, folks. We will chat on Tuesday morning.